Chapter 43. Ji-yu, you've got guts. You dare to act wildly in my Lin mansion. Lin Chitian looked at the miserable situation in front of him and angrily rebuked. At the same time, his eyes were filled with disbelief. Wasn't this brat a trash at the third level of the body-tempering realm? Why was his strength so terrifying? Even the guard captain was nowhere to be seen. It seemed that he was also dead. From where Lin Chitian was standing, he couldn't see the guard captain lying in the hole in the wall. Ji-yu casually threw away the guard's corpse and coldly looked at Lin Chitian. You're going to die too. Ji-yu appeared in front of Lin Chitian in a flash. She clenched her right fist and used the stone-shattering fist to smash at Lin Chitian. What? Lin Chitian was shocked. He didn't see Ji-yu's movements clearly. Before he could even react, Ji-yu had already appeared in front of him. Lin Chitian, who was at the 9th level of the body-tempering realm, subconsciously crossed his arms to protect his head. Bang! Lin Chitian suddenly felt an intense pain in his arms. Only then did he realize that the bones in his arms were about to shatter. He was at the 9th level of the body-tempering realm and was only one step away from the defensive profound realm. In the entire Chaoyang city, there weren't many below the defensive profound realm who could be his opponent. The brat in front of him was clearly above the defensive profound realm. He wasn't someone he could fight against. He was scared. His eyes were filled with fear. At this moment, he truly realized what kind of monster he had provoked. Oh! Ji-yu's cold voice sounded. Not bad. You actually took the first punch. Can you take the second punch? Hearing this voice, Lin Chitian's body suddenly trembled. Especially when he heard that the opponent was going to give him a second punch. He couldn't take the first punch. Wouldn't the second punch take his life? No. Lin Chitian felt that he had to get away from this monster. He fiercely clenched his teeth and endured the pain in his arms. He used all his strength to use his movement skill to escape into the mansion. Seeing this, Ji-yu sneered, "Do you think you can escape?" Before he finished speaking, he had already caught up with Lin Chitian at a speed far exceeding his own. Lin Chitian heard Ji-yu's voice and was about to turn around to see if Ji-yu was chasing after him when Ji-yu suddenly appeared behind him. He was so frightened that he stumbled and fell to the ground. Sitting on the ground, he retreated in a sorry state. "You! Don't come any closer." Lin Chitian looked at Ji-yu in shock and fear as he cried out. Ji-yu didn't stop at all. She walked over and grabbed Lin Chitian's head. She twisted Lin Chitian's head with one hand, and Lin Chitian was lifted into the air. Ding! Master used Swift Shadow Claw. Swift Shadow Claw experience gained, 20*999 ek. Ji-yu had a lot of strength in her hand. Lin Chitian felt as if his head was about to explode. The pain was unbearable. He frantically tried to grab Ji-yu's hand that was twisting his head, trying in vain to break free from Ji-yu's iron grip. However, he could only leave a small scratch on the back of Ji-yu's hand. Ding! Master's body has been injured. Low yellow rank profound skill thick earth armor experience gained, 1*999 ek. Ding! Master's body has been injured. Low yellow rank profound skill thick earth armor experience gained, 1*999 ek. Ding! Congratulations Master. Low yellow rank profound skill thick earth armor has successfully broken through to mastery realm. Although Lin Chitian's scratches allowed Ji-yu's defensive profound skill thick earth armor to break through, in reality, these scratches were like tickles to Ji-yu. There was almost no pain at all. He gradually increased the strength in his hand, causing Lin Chitian to feel an unbearable pain. Ah! Lin Chitian continuously screamed in agony. There were many Lin clan disciples and servants who saw this scene, but no one dared to take half a step closer. They all watched from afar, and only a very small number of people secretly ran to report this to the higher-ups. Tell me the truth, did you want to attack me yourself, or did you listen to someone else's instructions? At this time, Ji-yu suddenly spoke. It's Chen Yang's instructions. Please let me go. Lin Chitian was in so much pain that his facial features were twisted together, looking very ugly. Good, then you can die now. Ji-yu let go of Lin Chitian, but at this moment, he immediately followed up with a punch towards Lin Chitian's chest. The reason why he didn't directly kill Lin Chitian and instead tortured him was because he wanted to torture Lin Chitian's mind until he broke down. That way, Lin Chitian would confess the truth. This Lin Chitian did listen to Chen Yang's instructions as expected. It must have been when he was trapped in the underground world with Jiang Yushin, Lin Chitian and Chen Yang, these two dogs, colluded together. Chen Yang deserved to die, Lin Chitian also deserved to die. Chapter 44. A stone-shattering fist smashed into Lin Chitian's chest, and the sound of his ribs breaking rang out as Lin Chitian was sent tumbling backwards. But at this moment, a figure suddenly appeared and shielded Lin Chitian. The owner of this figure was the current head of the Lin family, Lin Zhanshan. Seeing that even Lin Zhanshan had appeared, Ji Yu's expression couldn't help but change slightly. Lin Zhanshan appearing so quickly was far beyond his expectations. He had originally planned to leave immediately after dealing with Lin Chitian. Ji Yu didn't hesitate and immediately used his movement skill to turn and run. This Lin Zhanshan was one of the few Tongxian experts in Chaoyang ancient city. The Tongxian realm was the realm above the defensive profound realm. Ji Yu had no chance of winning against Lin Zhanshan, and might even be killed in an instant. "You hurt my son, and you still want to run?" Lin Zhanshan's expression was extremely gloomy as he coldly snorted, and the profound qi around his body surged. The profound qi around his body gradually solidified, forming a qi aura that shot towards Ji Yu at a speed that couldn't be seen with the naked body. The speed of this qi aura was actually much faster than Ji Yu's movement skill, and could almost catch up to Ji Yu in the next second. Ding! Congratulations, Master! The superior yellow rank profound skill Ling Tian steps has successfully broken through to the greater heights realm. Ding! Superior yellow rank profound skill Ling Tian steps has been detected, and has automatically upgraded to inferior black rank profound skill 1000 illusory flash. At the same time, Ji Yu used Ling Tian steps to escape the Lin family mansion. Coincidentally, the superior yellow rank Ling Tian steps had also been upgraded to inferior black rank 1000 illusory flash. He was pleasantly surprised, as there was always a way out. There was a huge difference between a profound rank profound skill and a yellow rank profound skill, and its speed was definitely much faster than a yellow rank profound skill. With this low profound rank movement technique, he should be able to escape. However, before Ji Yu could be happy for more than a second, an invisible qi aura shot towards his back. Suddenly, he felt as if his back was being torn apart by some kind of incomparably sharp gas. In an instant, as if he had suffered a heavy blow, he fell forward uncontrollably. Ding! Master's body has suffered heavy injuries. Experience gained from the yellow rank low-class profound skill thick earth armor, 10 by 999 times. An incomparably large wound had appeared on Ji Yu's back. Blood flowed uncontrollably from the wound. Ji Yu's face was pale as he coughed up a mouthful of blood. The piercing pain in his back made it difficult for him to get up. Seeing that Ji Yu had lost the ability to escape, Lin Zhanshan's face was filled with a cruel and merciless smile. He slowly walked towards Ji Yu. "I absolutely can't. I can't die here." With great difficulty, Ji Yu propped himself up with his hands. The intense pain in his back made his expression very ugly, and he was about to faint from the pain. However, the intense unwillingness and hatred in his heart supported him to maintain his last bit of consciousness. He had yet to take his revenge. How could he die here like this? The veins on Ji Yu's forehead bulged. He angrily roared and used the 1000 illusory flash. This was his final struggle. Ding! Master has used the 1000 illusory flash. Experience gained from the 1000 illusory flash, 200 by 999 times. Seeing that Ji Yu could still move, Lin Zhanshan's expression suddenly changed. He used the same move again, and another profound qi aura attacked Ji Yu. However, he was shocked to see that the profound qi aura he used this time could not catch up to that brat. He could only watch as that brat disappeared into the distance. It wasn't that he didn't want to chase, but that he was too careless. By the time he realized that something was wrong, it was already too late to chase. Lin Zhanshan's expression became incomparably gloomy once again. "Ji Yu, you dared to hurt my son. I will definitely make you pay with your blood." At this time, Ji-Yu's consciousness was already blurred. He didn't even know where he had escaped to, but he was worried that Lin Zhanshan would catch up. He used the last of his willpower to use the 1,000 illusory flash again. After a while, his consciousness almost disappeared, and his body fell forward uncontrollably. Suddenly, he felt a soft sensation on his face, but his body was powerless. He couldn't even open his eyes as his consciousness faded away. In the next moment, he completely lost consciousness. Ji-Yu didn't know that it was Jiang Yushin who had discovered him while taking a stroll. When he was about to lose consciousness and fall forward, it was Jiang Yushin who used her own body to protect him. Ji-Yu. Ji-Yu. Jiang Yushin hugged Ji-Yu, who had fallen on top of her, and continuously called out Ji-Yu's name. However, Ji-Yu still didn't give any response. Jiang Yushin immediately understood that Ji-Yu had fainted. At this time, she suddenly discovered that her hands were covered in blood. Her pupils shrank as she looked at Ji-Yu's back. She saw a ghastly wound with blood continuously flowing out. She immediately looked away, not having the heart to look. Jiang Yushin gently hugged Ji-Yu's head in her arms. She couldn't help but tear up. How long has it been? What did you experience during this time? It hadn't even been an hour since she and Ji-Yu had parted ways at the city gates. In such a short period of time, the powerful Ji-Yu was actually injured to such a miserable state. She really couldn't imagine what had happened to Ji-Yu. Jiang Yushin understood that now wasn't the time to cry. She hurriedly wiped the tears from her cheeks and carefully carried Ji-Yu on her back. Although her body was petite, she was still an 8th-level body tempering realm martial cultivator. Carrying a man on her back was not a problem. Ignoring the gazes of the surrounding people, Jiang Yushin walked step by step back to the city lord's mansion. Chapter 45. In a small room, an old man with blood on his face was protecting a young man. His eyes were fixed on the young man in luxurious clothes opposite him. His eyes were full of determination. Run! The old man shouted angrily and rushed to the luxurious young man. The young man wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes, but he couldn't wipe away the sorrow in his eyes. He tried to escape from the back door. Before he escaped far, he couldn't help but look back. The old man in the room had been pierced through the chest by a sword, but he was looking at him with a gratified smile. At this moment, the dream shattered. Ji-Yu suddenly opened his eyes, but there was only white in front of him. When he looked carefully, he was lying on a bed. He immediately understood that it was just a dream. Recalling the face of the luxurious young man in the dream, Ji-Yu's eyes suddenly turned cold. Hiss! Ji-Yu was about to get up when he suddenly felt an unbearable pain in his back. Only then did he realize that he was seriously injured. Your injury is still very serious. You'd better not move. Suddenly, a cold and pleasant voice came. Ji-Yu subconsciously exclaimed, Jiang Yu? He was just about to say the name Jiang Yushin, but at the same time, he saw a red figure. I'm Jiang Yuchu. The girl in the red dress said. Ji-Yu recognized the girl in the red dress. She was Jiang Yueshin's sister. He had met her once in the grocery store outside the Demon Beast mountain range. Moreover, Jiang Yuchu was the eldest daughter of the City Lord Mansion and the first martial arts genius in Chaoyang Ancient City. Almost everyone in Chaoyang Ancient City knew her. Did you save me? The pain in his back made Ji-Yu's voice tremble slightly. It wasn't me who saved you. It was Jiang Yushin. She didn't sleep last night and is now sleeping next to you. Jiang Yuchu said coldly. Ji-Yu endured the pain in his back and turned his head. Because he was lying on the bed and not lying down, turning his head slightly would affect his back. However, if he was lying down, it would only hurt more. As soon as he turned his head, he saw Jiang Yushin curled up and sleeping soundly beside him like a little kitten. Seeing the tear stains on Jiang Yueshin's cheeks, Ji-Yu couldn't help but feel touched. She slowly reached out and gently wiped away the remaining tears at the corners of Jiang Yueshin's eyes. If it wasn't for Jiang Yushin saving him, he probably would have died in some unknown place. Wait a minute. At this moment, Ji-Yu suddenly felt that something was wrong. What Jiang Yuchu said just now was that she didn't sleep at all. He didn't sleep the entire night. Ji-Yu immediately asked, how long have I been unconscious? About half a day. Jiang Yuchu replied. I see. Ji Yu slowly let out a sigh of relief. He thought that he had been unconscious for a few days. He continued to ask, is this the city lord's mansion? From what he could see, he seemed to be in a young girl's boudoir. That's right. This is Jiang Yuexin's boudoir. She was the one who carried you here and personally treated your wounds and changed your clothes. Jiang Yuxin said expressionlessly. There was no trace of emotion on her delicate face. Hearing Jiang Yuexin's words, Ji Yu couldn't help but fall silent. Also, when she carried you here, she didn't tell anyone. Apart from me, no one knows that you're in her room. While no one knows that you're here, you should hurry and leave this place when your wounds are more or less healed. Jiang Yuchu said with a cold gaze. Ji Yu couldn't help but frown slightly. This woman's attitude made him very uncomfortable. But it was true that he was surrounded by enemies in Chaoyang Ancient City. It was normal that he wasn't liked by the city lord's mansion, so he didn't say anything. Sister, don't talk to him like that. He did not know when Jiang Yuxin had woken up. Her nose was slightly wrinkled. That's all I have to say. Jiang Yuchu didn't pay attention to Jiang Yuxin. She left those words to Ji Yu and leisurely left. Just as she was about to leave the room, she turned around and said to Jiang Yuxin, also, don't call me sister in the future. I'm not your sister. Hearing Jiang Yuechu's cold and emotionless voice, Ji Yu's expression became a little strange. He felt that the relationship between these two sisters was very strange. He glanced at Jiang Yuxin. He saw that Jiang Yuxin had a depressed expression and was silent. After Jiang Yuchu left, Ji Yu solemnly thanked Jiang Yuxin. I can't thank you enough for this kindness. He originally wanted to ask about the relationship between these two sisters. But after thinking about it, he didn't want to get involved. After all, he was just an outsider. Hearing Ji Yu's serious tone, Jiang Yuexin's originally gloomy face couldn't help but laugh. Who are the two of us? What's there to be grateful for? As soon as her voice fell, she felt that her words had a different meaning. She hurriedly explained, what I meant was that we're friends for life. Don't misunderstand. Chapter 46. What? Ji Yu was a bit confused. He didn't understand the meaning behind Jiang Yuexin's words. However, Ji Yu didn't care about such a trivial matter. As long as Jiang Yuexin's mood could recover a bit, it was fine. Let's not talk about this anymore. I really want to know what happened to you after we separated yesterday. At this moment, Jiang Yuxin suddenly asked. It's all in the past. Let's not talk about it. Ji Yu hesitated for a moment before speaking in a low voice. The reason why he didn't want to talk about what happened yesterday was that he didn't want Jiang Yuxin to interfere in the matter between him and the Lin and Chen families. Jiang Yuechu's words just now and Jiang Yuexin's loss of composure in the underground world. Through these factors, he could guess that Jiang Yuexin's situation wasn't very good. Although he didn't know what exactly was wrong, he didn't want Jiang Yuxin to be caught in the whirlpool between him and the Lin and Chen families. Why? Are you unwilling to tell me? However, Jiang Yuxin didn't say this sentence out loud. Jiang Yuxin finally let out a low sigh. Her expression was a bit sad. Although she knew that it was definitely the Lin family or the Chen family that did this to Ji Yu, she couldn't help much if Ji Yu didn't reveal the truth. This made her feel very useless. She wasn't someone that Ji Yu could rely on at all. The atmosphere became very heavy. Ji Yu wanted to ease the atmosphere and joked, this room is really childish and cute. It must be your room. However, Jiang Yuxin didn't respond at all. The atmosphere suddenly became heavy and awkward. This time, Ji Yu really didn't know what to say. The two of them were silent for a long time. Jiang Yuxin seemed to have calmed down a little. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and said, the injury on your back is still very serious. You should continue to rest. I'll get you some more pills. There's no need for pills. I have a lot of branches in my storage ring that I use to roast fish in the underground world. You can try to boil them into medicine later. They should be effective. As she spoke, Ji Yu took out many tree branches from her storage ring. When he discovered that these branches had healing properties, he deliberately collected some of them. He didn't expect that they would come in handy so soon. I didn't expect you to take these away. This makes things a little easier. Jiang Yushin was both delighted and surprised. She immediately ran out of the room with the branches in her arms. Seeing that Jiang Yushin had left, Ji Yu began to recall what had happened yesterday. He deeply remembered that Lin Zhanshan had only used one move to make him lose his ability to resist. That move was a move unique to Tongxian realm experts. Once a martial cultivator entered the Tongxian realm, they would be able to release the Xian Qi in their body and form a Xian Qi aura. It could be used for both offense and defense. It was an extremely powerful ability. If he hadn't broken through his limit at the last moment, he would have already died in Lin Zhanshan's hands. At this moment, Ji Yu's eyes instantly became extremely gloomy. He clenched his fists so tightly that his nails dug into his palms. The strong impulse in his heart made him ignore the blood flowing out of his palms and the intense pain from his back. That was to become stronger. The reason why he had fallen to such a state was because he was too weak. He shouldn't vent his anger on his tragic and innocent fate. Instead, he should work hard to become stronger. As long as he was strong enough to become invincible, then all fate was nonsense. Without any hesitation, Ji Yu gritted his teeth and forcefully endured the pain in his back. He immediately sat up and began to cultivate his Xian Qi. If he didn't become stronger as soon as possible, when he met the Lin family and the Chen family in the future, his end would be even more miserable than now. Ji Yu desperately cultivated his Xian Qi. However, he didn't notice that Jiang Yuchu was secretly watching everything from outside the window. Seeing this youth forcefully endure the pain and crawl up to cultivate, Jiang Yuechu's cold eyes couldn't help but flash a trace of emotion. It was already very miraculous that this youth could hold on until today. If it was a normal person, they wouldn't be able to wake up again. She felt that it was very inconceivable. Such tenacious willpower shocked her to no end. Jiang Yuchu coldly stared at Ji Yu. Her eyes flashed with a strange light as she pondered. Soon, she left. Chapter 47. Although Ji Yu had a lot of second-grade alchemy materials in his storage ring, which he bought at the Chaoyang branch yesterday. But in his current state, he couldn't refine pills no matter how hard he tried. Therefore, he could only rely on cultivating qi to improve his cultivation. This was the only thing he could do now. After an unknown period of time, suddenly, there was a cry of surprise. "Why are you sitting up?" Hearing that Jiang Yushin was back, Ji Yu slowly opened his eyes. Before he could speak, Jiang Yushin said anxiously, "Why don't you lie down? Why are you still cultivating at this time?" Ji Yu was silent. Jiang Yushin was angry and anxious. "I don't care what's wrong with you. You have to lie down obediently. Otherwise, she thought hard for a long time but couldn't think of what to say to threaten Ji Yu. She said anxiously, "Otherwise, I won't talk to you anymore." Hearing this, Ji Yu was slightly stunned. Then, he smiled and shook his head. It was time to drink the medicine now. Ji Yu said, "I'd better continue to sit. Otherwise, how can I drink the medicine when I lie down?" "You're right." Jiang Yuexin's agitated emotions gradually calmed down. Indeed, she had not thought it through. "Well, give me that bowl of medicine. Let's see if the medicine made from this branch is effective," Ji Yu said. With that, he reached out to take the bowl of medicine in Jiang Yuexin's hand. "No, you can't move your body. I'll feed you this bowl of medicine," Jiang Yushin said softly. "Okay, anything is fine." Ji Yu put down his hand with a chuckle. "That's more like it," Jiang Yushin said with satisfaction. Then she took a spoonful of medicine and blew it gently for a while. After blowing the hot medicine until it was not so hot, she fed it to Ji Yu. Although feeding a man personally made Jiang Yushin feel a little shy, she didn't dare to be distracted in this situation. Her shy and serious expression made her look very cute. Ding! Master drank a mouthful of medicine with recovery ability. Recovery ability increased by 999 times. As soon as Ji Yu drank the first mouthful of medicine, the system prompt sounded. He instantly felt the pain on his back relieved a lot. He could even faintly feel the wound healing a little. But because the injury on his back was too serious, even so, he didn't recover much. At the same time, he also felt a little puzzled. This was the first time he had heard this notification sound. Why hadn't there been any notifications about this before? Could it be that when he was roasting the fish, there wasn't much of the branch's effect left, so it didn't trigger the system's 999 times amplification? That was the only explanation he could come up with. After all, decocting the twigs into medicine would retain almost all of its effects. Ding! Master drank a mouthful of recovery medicine, and his recovery ability has increased by 999 times. Ding! Master drank a mouthful of medicine with recovery ability. Recovery ability increased by 999 times. Jiang Yushin carefully fed Jiyu spoonful by spoonful. Jiyu drank a mouthful by mouthful, and the injury on his back healed very quickly. Not long after, the whole bowl of medicine was finished. Jiyu could clearly feel that the pain on his back was greatly reduced. He wasn't sure how much the wound had healed, but it was definitely healed by a lot. How is it? Is it effective? Do you need me to get another bowl? Jiang Yushin quickly asked. Yes, it's very effective. Jiyu nodded. Really? Jiang Yushin immediately asked with a look of joy. You'll know when you see it for yourself. While speaking, Jiyu slowly turned his back. Wait. Jiang Yushin hurriedly covered her eyes with her hands. She couldn't bear to look at the hideous wound on Jiyu's back. Chapter 48. Then, Jiang Yushin slightly moved her hand away from her eyes. She was surprised to find that the wound on Jiyu's back was much smaller than before. Although it still looked a little scary, he had indeed recovered a lot. Those tree branches were actually so effective. I'll go get another bowl. Seeing that Jiyu had recovered so quickly, Jiang Yushin immediately rushed out of the room with the empty bowl. Soon, Jiang Yushin came back with a bowl full of medicine. She fed Jiyu spoonful by spoonful. After drinking another bowl, the wound on Jiyu's back had also recovered a lot. It could be seen that his wound was now half as small as before. It also didn't look so scary anymore. Not long after, Jiang Yushin came back with the third bowl of medicine. In the end, even Jiyu himself couldn't remember how many bowls of medicine he had drunk. His back injury was finally more or less healed. He immediately got off the bed and moved his muscles. He found that as long as he didn't deliberately touch his back, he wouldn't feel much pain. Jiang Yushin was so happy that she was about to cry. Okay, I've already recovered a lot. This time, it's all thanks to you. While speaking, Jiyu couldn't help but reach out and stroke Jiang Yushin's soft hair. Jiang Yushin rubbed her moist eyes and nodded. In the next moment, she suddenly realized that her head was being touched again. She immediately resisted. Didn't I say not to treat me like a child? Why are you touching my head again? I don't treat you like a child. I just feel that your hair is very comfortable to touch. Jiyu said honestly. Is that so? Jiang Yushin felt a trace of joy in her heart. Her beautiful face flushed red. She immediately stopped resisting and even slightly lowered her head in accordance with Jiyu's hand. After a while, she felt that she was going too easy on Jiyu, so she took a step back and stopped Jiyu from touching her. I'll only let you touch me for a while. Otherwise, you'll definitely push your luck. Give me an inch, and I want a yard. Jiyu asked in confusion. Nothing. Jiang Yushin immediately wanted to change the topic. You should stay here for the rest of the time. Otherwise, you'll definitely get hurt again if you run out. Jiyu replied with a soft millimeter and didn't express anything else. He was also planning to endure for a while and wait until he was strong enough to take revenge. Now, because of him, the Lin family and the Chen family were definitely planning to join forces to deal with him. The Lin family and the Chen family were both big families in the ancient city of Chaoyang. There were many powerful martial artists in their houses, including Tongxian realm martial artists like Lin Zhanshan. With his current strength, it was impossible for him to shake these two powerful families. Not to mention taking revenge on Chen Yang, he might not even be able to enter the Chen family. Although Ji Yu definitely had no problem dealing with Chen Yang alone, one's background was also a part of one's strength. Chen Yang had a powerful background like the Chen family, so his overall strength was still much higher than his. If he wanted to take revenge on Chen Yang, he would have to face the entire Chen family. Not only that, but he also wanted to take the life of that old dog, Lin Zhanshan. In other words, the enemies Ji Yu was facing now were the entire Lin and Chen family. There might even be some fellows who wanted to take his head for the sake of the bounty reward waiting in the dark. The injury on my back should be completely healed in a few days. I have to quickly increase my strength before anyone discovers that I'm still alive. Ji Yu muttered to himself. He had suffered such serious injuries. The Lin family and the Chen family probably thought that he was dead. Now that those people were most relaxed, it was the best opportunity for him to take advantage of. At this moment, Ji Yu took out a pill furnace and a large pile of second-grade pill refinement materials from his storage ring. Jiang Yushin saw this scene and asked curiously, "Are you planning to refine pills?" "That's right." Ji Yu nodded in response. As he spoke, he started a fire to warm the furnace. "You really are a pill refinement master," Jiang Yushin exclaimed in surprise. She didn't believe it at first, but now she had no choice but to believe it. After all, it wasn't that easy to become a pill refinement master. Most people who were strong in martial arts didn't have the extra energy to cultivate pill refinement. However, Ji Yu was not only strong in martial arts, but also an accomplished pill refinement master. This made her even more surprised. At the same time, Ji Yu had already placed the first set of materials into the pill furnace. This was a set of materials to be used to refine the mystic gathering powder. The mystic gathering powder was an inferior second-grade pill. It was the most suitable pill for defensive profound realm cultivators to use for cultivation. Although Ji Yu's cultivation hadn't reached the defensive profound realm yet, the pills he took were all cultivation experience provided by the system, so there was no such thing as whether it was suitable or not. Ding! It has been detected that the master has begun to refine the inferior second-grade pill mystic gathering powder. The success rate of refining pills has increased by 999 times. Even though it was his first time refining an inferior second-grade pill, Ji Yu's pill refinement techniques weren't unfamiliar. In addition, the system activated the 999 times success rate of refining pills, so he was able to refine pills with ease. "Ji Yu, what kind of pill are you refining?" Jiang Yushin, who was watching from the side, asked curiously. Jiang Yushin didn't know much about pill refinement, so she didn't know that she shouldn't disturb a pill refinement master who was refining pills. However, Ji Yu didn't belong to this category. Not only was he able to refine pills with ease, he could even chat with others while refining pills. Chapter 49. I'm refining the mystic gathering powder. Ji Yu replied. Mystic gathering powder? Jiang Yushin thought for a while and said in surprise, "Isn't that an inferior grade 2 medicinal pill? You can actually refine an inferior grade 2 medicinal pill? There's nothing to be surprised about. It's actually very simple." Ji Yu said calmly. "TSK, you're trying to trick me again. Do you think I'll be fooled by you again?" Jiang Yushin said disdainfully. Although she didn't understand the Tao of alchemy, it didn't mean that she didn't know how high the threshold to become an alchemist was, let alone a grade 2 alchemist. After being exposed by Jiang Yushin, Ji Yu just smiled and didn't say anything. After about an hour, Ji Yu successfully refined a mystic gathering powder. Ding! Master has refined a mystic gathering powder. Alchemy attainment gained experience, 200 by 999 times. This was the first time he refined an inferior grade 2 medicinal pill. Ji Yu couldn't wait to try the effects of this inferior grade 2 medicinal pill. He immediately took out the mystic gathering powder from the cauldron and threw it into his mouth. Ding! Master has consumed a mystic gathering powder. Martial Tao cultivation gained experience, 5,000 by 999 times. Ding! Congratulations, Master. Martial Tao cultivation has successfully broken through to the perfection of the 9th level of the body tempering stage. After consuming the mystic gathering powder, Jiyu's martial Dao cultivation instantly broke through to the perfection of the 9th level of the body tempering stage. Not only that, but he also felt that he could break through to the defensive profound realm very soon. This kind of medicinal effect made him feel very satisfied. Jiyu only rested for a while before continuing to refine the second set of materials. After about 40 minutes, the second mystic gathering powder was refined. Then the third set of materials. After about half an hour, then the fourth set of materials. The fifth set of materials. The sixth set of materials. Until the last set of materials. Ding! Congratulations to Master for successfully breaking through to become an intermediate second-grade pill refinement master. Jiyu's refining speed of the profound gathering powder became faster and faster. In the end, she only spent a little more than 2 hours and refined a total of 10 profound gathering powders. At the same time, she also obtained the overall level of a second-grade intermediate alchemist. At this time, Jiang Yuexin's beautiful eyes were full of splendor. The profound gathering powder had always been expensive, but in Jiyu's hands, it was actually so easy to refine so many of them. After that, Jiyu prepared to take the 10 mystic gathering powder. She was very much looking forward to what realm she would reach in the end. At the same time, in a hall of the Chen family's mansion in Chaoyang Ancient City. If Jiyu were here, she would definitely be furious. Because almost all of the people sitting here were his enemies. The head of the Lin family, Lin Zhantian, the head of the Chen family, Chen Wuheng, Chen Yang, the Lin family, and the rest of the Chen family. Many people gathered in the Chen family's mansion, and they were planning something. Head of the Lin family, are you sure that Jiyu, that brat, can't live? Chen Wuheng asked Lin Zhantian. Of course, he hurt my son, Qi Tian. I will definitely not be merciful. He will definitely die. Lin Zhantian said, it's a pity that he used up his last breath to escape. It's not easy to find his body. It's best if he's really dead. That brat is very unpredictable. His strength suddenly increased in just a few days. I don't know what's going on. Chen Wuheng's eyes flickered slightly as he said. Head of the Lin family, don't take it lightly. One of my subordinates chased that brat to the Demon Beast mountain range. At that time, that brat was also seriously injured and on the verge of death. In the end, my subordinate never came back. I think, at this time, Chen Yang suddenly opened his mouth. Oh, nephew Chen, you mean? Lin Zhantian asked curiously. I think that brat accidentally obtained some kind of opportunity in the Demon Beast mountain range. That's why his strength increased so much in just a few days. Chen Yang's expression was cold as he said, don't be so sure that the brat is definitely dead. If he's not dead, we should find a way to capture him and force him to hand over the opportunity. Nephew Chen is really thoughtful. That brat is really strange. If it's really like what Nephew Chen said, we should torture that brat and interrogate him. Lin Zhantian immediately praised. Then it's settled. From today onwards, we'll search the entire city for Jiyu. Chen Wuheng immediately ordered. At this moment, the corner of Chen Yang's mouth raised into a sinister sneer. Jiyu, this young master can snatch your spirit pill once, I can snatch your opportunity again. All your treasures will always be this young master's. Speaking of which, I heard that nephew Chen snatched a spirit pill from that brat Jiyu not long ago and even killed his entire family. Is that spirit pill really so important that it's worth nephew Chen making such a big fuss? Lin Zhanshan's tone was filled with curiosity. I've already refined that spirit pill. As for whether it's worth me making such a big fuss, the head of the Lin family will know tomorrow. Chen Yang said with a mysterious smile. Then I really have to look forward to it, ha ha ha, Lin Zhanshan laughed. Chapter 50. Chaoyang Ancient City, City Lord's Mansion, Jiang Yuexin's room. Ding. Master has consumed a mysterious gathering powder, martial cultivation experience gained, 5000*999 ek. Ding. Congratulations Master, martial cultivation has successfully broken through to the early stage of defensive profound realm. When Jiyu consumed the first of the 10 mysterious gathering powder, his martial cultivation had directly broken through to the first level of defensive profound realm. He had long expected this to happen, so he promptly used the sky splitter to forcefully suppress the commotion caused by breaking through to the defensive profound realm. It wasn't that Ji Yu didn't want Jiang Yushan to notice that his martial cultivation had broken through to the first level of defensive profound realm, but he didn't want to alarm the other people in the City Lord's mansion. There were many experts in the City Lord's mansion, so if he didn't suppress the aura of his breakthrough, it would definitely alarm many of the experts in the City Lord's mansion. At that time, not only would it cause a lot of trouble, there would also be many uncertain factors, which would only do him more harm than good. In addition, to prevent Jiang Yushan from becoming suspicious, he temporarily put away the remaining 9 mysterious gathering powder. After all, under normal circumstances, pills required a long time to absorb, and if an ordinary person consumed too many pills at once, they would definitely explode and die. Ji Yu became an abnormal person because of the system. If Jiang Yushan saw it with her own eyes, she would definitely find it strange. No matter who it was, even if his biological parents were in front of him, he wouldn't reveal any secrets about the system. Not long after, Jiang Yushan said that she was going to instruct the chef to prepare an extra meal. After Jiang Yushan left, Ji Yu took out the 9 mysterious gathering powder and continued to consume them. Ding! Congratulations, Master. Martial cultivation has successfully broken through to the peak of the first level of defensive profound realm. After consuming the 9 mysterious gathering powder, Ji Yu's martial cultivation broke through 3 small realms, from the early stage of the first level of defensive profound realm to the peak of the first level of defensive profound realm. He didn't properly experience the difference of the defensive profound realm just now, so he immediately circulated the Shen Qi in his body. He could clearly feel that the profound energy in his body had undergone a qualitative change. Compared to before, both the quality and quantity of profound energy had increased by several times. In addition, cultivating the heaven splitter brought about almost the same effect. The quality and quantity of Shen Qi in his body now far exceeded that of martial cultivators of the same realm. However, the peak of the first level of the defensive profound realm was still far from enough for Ji Yu. At this time, Jiang Yushan came back with a basket of food. After having lunch with Jiang Yushan, Ji Yu continued to cultivate her Shen Qi in order to stabilize her newly broken cultivation. Jiang Yushan seems to understand Ji Yu's difficulties, so she doesn't disturb Ji Yu when she is cultivating. About 2 to 4 hours later, Ji Yu felt that her cultivation base had more or less stabilized, so she left the state of cultivation. Ji Yu didn't stop to rest. She immediately took out all the remaining materials from her storage ring. The materials she used to refine before were all materials needed for the Shen gathering powder to cultivate Shen Qi. And now, these materials were all refining materials for the Shen Qi recovery pill. The reason why Ji Yu had prepared so many ingredients to refine pills to recover profound Qi was so that he could raise the first level of the sky splitter technique. After all, circulating the sky splitter technique required a huge amount of profound Qi. She started a fire to warm the furnace and put in the materials. Refining 5 Shen Qi recovery pills in one go, Ji Yu immediately prepared to circulate the heaven splitter technique. Now that his cultivation base has reached the peak of the first level of the defensive profound realm, he should be able to circulate the heaven splitter technique a few more times. It won't be like before, where all the Shen Qi in her body was only enough to circulate the heaven splitter technique twice. Ding! Master has circulated heaven splitter gained experience, 10,000 * 999 times. Ding! Master has circulated heaven splitter gained experience, 10,000 * 999 times. In total, this time, Ji Yu had to circulate the first level of the heaven splitter technique 5 times before she didn't have much Shen Qi left in her body. Previously, she could only circulate it twice at a time, but now she could circulate it 5 times. It was obvious that the breakthrough in her cultivation base had more than doubled the Shen Qi in her body. Then, Ji Yu immediately consumed a Shen Qi recovery pill, and the Shen Qi in her body immediately recovered to its peak. Then, she continued to circulate the heaven splitter technique. When her Shen Qi was depleted, she consumed the Shen Qi recovery pill again. After repeating this cycle, Ji Yu finally finished consuming all the Shen Qi recovery pills. Ding! Congratulations, Master. The first level of the king-level technique Heaven Splitter has successfully broken through to the mastery realm. Finally, when Ji Yu was about to exhaust all of her Xian Qi, the first level of the Heaven Splitter technique finally broke through to the next level. Since he had broken through to the next level, he naturally wanted to see the effects of the breakthrough through cultivating Xian Qi. Chapter 51. Ding. Master has cultivated for 1 minute. Martial cultivation experience gained, 6x 999x. This time, it went from 4x to 6x. Next time, it should go from 6x to 8x. Ji Yu thought to himself. For the rest of the day, he cultivated his celestial Kai Ding. Congratulations, Master. Martial cultivation has successfully broken through to the peak of first level of the defensive profound realm. In the middle of the night, Ji Yu broke through again. He immediately stopped cultivating and prepared to sleep. To his surprise, he found that Jiang Yushin had already fallen asleep beside him. It seemed that Jiang Yushin was already used to sleeping with him. Looking at Jiang Yuxin's cute sleeping face, he couldn't help but lightly scratch her pink nose. The next day, as Ji Yu slept too late last night, he only slowly woke up when it was almost noon. However, at this moment, a few voices suddenly came from outside the room. Second young miss, bad news. Eldest young miss has been defeated. What did you say? Who defeated my elder sister? She was defeated by that young master of the Chen family, Chen Yang, in less than 3 moves. Upon hearing the 2 words Chen Yang, Ji Yu instantly woke up. Defeated in less than 3 moves? How is this possible? Jiang Yuxin's face was filled with disbelief. It is true, second young miss. I have to hurry back. The servant opposite her seemed to have something urgent to attend to and hurriedly ran away. How is this possible? How could elder sister? Jiang Yuxin muttered, as if she was in a dream. Let's go and take a look. At this moment, Ji Yu appeared behind Jiang Yuxin, his eyes revealing a trace of coldness. Hearing Ji Yu's voice, Jiang Yuxin immediately came back to her senses. You want to go too? She thought for a moment. Ji Yu and that Chen Yang definitely had a big grudge. Ji Yu's back injury must have been related to that Chen Yang. Wait a moment, let me find something for you first. As Jiang Yuxin spoke, she quickly ran back into the house. No one knew what she was going to get. About a minute later, Jiang Yuxin walked out with a mask in her hand. What is this? In Ji Yu's eyes, it was just a flesh-colored mask. He couldn't help but ask curiously. This is a magical mask that my mother gave me. After wearing it, it can completely change one's appearance, and it is very difficult for people to discover it. Jiang Yuxin explained. So you're saying that I have to wear this mask before I go? Ji Yu could almost guess what Jiang Yuxin meant. That's right. Although I don't know what's going on around you, I can tell that you have a grudge with the Chen family. This time, there will definitely be experts following Chen Yang around. If they see you, you'll be in trouble. Jiang Yuxin said. Yes, what you said does make sense. Ji Yu nodded. He took the mask from Jiang Yuxin's hand and tried to slowly put it on his face. He only felt a cool and comfortable feeling, and then the mask miraculously fit his skin completely. He walked in front of a mirror and found that his appearance had changed tremendously compared to before. Moreover, he couldn't tell that there was a mask on his face at all. How is it? Isn't it magical? Jiang Yuxin walked over and said, It's best that you change your clothes. That way, you'll be perfect. After that, Ji Yu changed into a steward's uniform. Jiang Yuxin wanted him to disguise himself as a steward of the city lord's mansion. This way, he wouldn't be discovered. After finishing the preparations, the two immediately set off for the martial arts arena of the city lord's mansion. Not long after, Ji Yu, who was disguised as a steward, followed Jiang Yuxin to the martial arts arena. At this moment, many people had gathered in the martial arts arena. Ji Yu was the first to catch sight of Jiang Yuechu's figure. He saw that Jiang Yuechu was being supported by 2 maids as she walked down the martial arts arena. Her pretty face was pale, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. From this, it could be seen that Jiang Yuechu had lost miserably. However, he found that most of the people in the city lord's mansion were looking at Jiang Yuchu with all kinds of strange gazes. Only a few people showed sympathetic expressions. Seeing this scene, Ji Yu suddenly felt very strange. However, he soon felt relieved. After thinking about it carefully, it made sense. Jiang Yuchu was the #1 martial arts genius in the city lord's mansion, or even the entire Chaoyang ancient city. The city lord's mansion definitely had high hopes for her. However, this time, she had lost to Chen Yang of the Chen family in less than 3 moves. The greater the hope, the greater the rebound at the moment of failure. Obviously, the people in the city lord's mansion were like this. At the same time, he was also a little surprised that Jiang Yuchu had really lost to Chen Yang in less than 3 moves. Although Chen Yang was not weak, he was only at the same level as Lin Chitian, who was at the peak of body tempering stage level 9. However, Jiang Yuchu had already broken through to the first level of the defensive profound realm. Their strength was not at the same level at all. However, Jiang Yuchu had lost. Moreover, she had lost in such a humiliating manner. This was really a little strange. Thinking of this, Ji Yu raised his head to look at the martial arts arena. His gaze was fixed on Chen Yang, who was the center of attention. After so many days, he finally saw Chen Yang, this dog, again. Very good gaze. Chen Yang's reaction was very quick. He immediately noticed Ji Yu's gaze. However, because Ji Yu had changed her overall appearance, he did not recognize that it was Ji Yu. However, he liked to see this kind of gaze the most. In the end, he would make this person feel deep despair and powerlessness. That was the real pleasure. Chapter 52. At the same time, Jiang Yuchu was supported by the 2 maids to a middle-aged man. Go back and recuperate. The middle-aged man's eyes were filled with disappointment as he said coldly. Looking at his eyes, Jiang Yuechu's face turned even paler. Sister, are you okay? At this moment, Jiang Yushin ran over and asked anxiously. Although Jiang Yuchu did not respond, a trace of imperceptible gratification flashed through her beautiful eyes. Ji Yu noticed this gaze, and he immediately seemed to be lost in thought. From today onwards, I'm the #1 martial arts genius in Chaoyang ancient city. On the stage, Chen Yang suddenly spoke in a very high-profile manner. As soon as he said that, many people below the arena whispered to each other. Sigh, I don't know what's wrong with Miss today. She actually lost to Chen Yang and caused him to behave atrociously in the governor's mansion. Mrs. Really? I feel like she's not paying attention at all. She's not serious about the fight. Although he did defeat Miss, he doesn't have to be so arrogant, right? Chen Yang glanced at the people below the stage, whose expressions had changed. He then smiled and said, Oh right, this young master has one more thing to announce to the public. Not long ago, this young master awakened his acquired spiritual body. Acquired spiritual body? Everyone was shocked when they heard Chen Yang's words. How could they not know about the acquired spiritual body? It was an extremely rare body type. In the Kanglan Empire, almost everyone had the most ordinary body type. Only a few people could awaken spiritual bodies. Some were born with innate spiritual bodies, while others were born with acquired spiritual bodies. Although acquired spiritual bodies were not as powerful as innate spiritual bodies, they were many times stronger than ordinary bodies. The few martial cultivators who could awaken spiritual bodies were all peerless geniuses who dominated an era. In the end, they all became the most powerful people in the Kanglan Empire. They found it hard to believe that Chen Yang had awakened his acquired spiritual body. If this was true, then it wouldn't be long before Chen Yang shook the entire Kanglan Empire. Jiang Yuchu, who had not gone far, heard Chen Yang's words and laughed self-deprecatingly. No wonder he was so thoroughly defeated. It turned out that he had an acquired spiritual body. At that moment, Ji Yu frowned. Who would have thought that Chen Yang had actually awakened his acquired spiritual body, and it just so happened that it had happened in the past few days. He couldn't help but guess that the reason why Chen Yang could suddenly awaken his acquired spirit body was probably because he had taken that spirit pill. That was a miraculous pill that Ji Yu had obtained by chance, but Chen Yang snatched it away by force, leading to the destruction of his family. Every time she recalled that scene, Ji couldn't help but want to immediately kill Chen Yang to take revenge. In other words, this acquired spirit body should have belonged to Ji. Ji's heart was filled with hatred when Chen Yang snatched away such a powerful physique. However, he couldn't make a move now. Chen Yang had many experts by his side. If he made a move, he would be finished. He forcefully suppressed the impulse in his heart and watched Chen Yang leave. That day, the news of Chen Yang defeating Jiang Yuchu in 3 moves and his awakening of his acquired spiritual body spread throughout the entire Chaoyang ancient city. Everyone was shocked, especially when they heard that Chen Yang had awakened his acquired spiritual body. This was earth-shattering news. Regardless of whether it was an innate spiritual body or an acquired spiritual body, as long as one awakened their spiritual body, they would definitely become the strongest person in the Kanglan Empire, as long as they didn't die prematurely. Everyone on the streets and alleys were talking about Chen Yang's awakening of his acquired spiritual body. Soon, this news became known to the entire Chaoyang ancient city. Before the next day, the news had spread from Chaoyang ancient city. Countless forces in the Kanglan Empire were alarmed by this news. The Kanglan Empire Academy directly announced that they would be recruiting students at the Chen family in Chaoyang ancient city in 7 days. This was equivalent to saying it out loud. Their intention was obvious, which was to recruit Chen Yang, who had awakened his acquired spiritual body, into the Kanglan Empire Academy. Once the news of the Kanglan Empire Academy spread, it shocked everyone in Chaoyang ancient city. It also caused a stir among countless forces in the Kanglan Empire. The Kanglan Empire Academy was the #1 force in the entire Kanglan Empire. It was the holy land of martial arts that countless young men and women in the Kanglan Empire dreamt of. As long as one was able to enter the Kanglan Empire Academy to cultivate, they would be famous once they graduated. It could only be said that Chen Yang was indeed an acquired spiritual body. The Kanglan Empire Academy actually took the initiative to recruit him. However, the Kanglan Empire Academy wasn't the only holy land of martial arts in the Kanglan Empire. There were a total of 3 holy lands of martial arts in the Kanglan Empire. Their overall foundation was similar. They were the Kanglan Empire Academy, the Qianyuan Martial House, and the Qingxian sect. After the Kanglan Empire Academy's announcement, the Qianyuan Martial House and the Qingxian sect followed suit and planned to recruit students at the Chen family in Chaoyang ancient city. When the time came, the martial arts geniuses from all over the Kanglan Empire would flock to Chaoyang ancient city. After knowing about this, Ji was even more eager to improve his strength. Although this was originally his treatment, now that he had obtained the 999 times cultivation system, it wouldn't affect his mentality. After 7 days, he was determined to improve his strength to the point where he could crush Chen Yang. Chapter 53. Now that I've completely changed my appearance, no one will be able to recognize me. I can go to the Chaoyang branch again to buy some materials. Although Ji had spent almost all of his gold coins to buy materials at the Chaoyang branch, he obtained quite a lot of gold coins from the Lin family guards when he killed them. Therefore, he now had enough gold coins to go to the Chaoyang branch to buy materials so that he could make pills to increase his strength. Without saying anything, Ji immediately left the mayor's mansion and headed to the Chaoyang branch. After arriving at the Chaoyang branch, he used all of his gold coins to buy materials for the 2nd-grade pills. About 70% of them were for the profound gathering powder, and the other 30% were for the profound recovery pill. Half an hour later, at the mayor's mansion. At this time, Ji had already returned to the mayor's mansion and was making the profound gathering powder. After making all the materials, he swallowed all of the profound gathering powder in one go. Ding! Master has consumed an inferior grade 2 medicinal pill, profound gathering powder. The experience gained for martial cultivation is as follows: 5,000 by 999 times. Ding! Master has consumed an inferior grade 2 medicinal pill, profound gathering powder. The experience gained for martial cultivation is as follows: 5,000 by 999 times. Ding! Congratulations Master, martial cultivation has successfully broken through to the peak of the 2nd level of the defensive profound realm. Just like that, Jiyu relied on the profound gathering powder to break through from the peak of the first level of the defensive profound realm to the peak of the second level of the defensive profound realm in one go. In the following 7 days, Jiyu not only cultivated his Xian Qi to stabilize his realm, but also practiced his fist and movement techniques from time to time. The superior yellow-ranked fist technique, stone-crushing fist, which was originally at the perfection stage, had been cultivated to the greater perfection stage in these 7 days. Furthermore, it had automatically upgraded to the inferior profound-ranked fist technique, mountain-shaking fist. The inferior black-ranked movement technique, Thousand Phantom Flash, which had just been upgraded, was cultivated to the mastery stage. Although Jiyu had been staying in Jiang Yuexin's room for the past 7 days, he had learned about the outside world from Jiang Yuexin. It was said that many martial arts geniuses from all over the world had come to the Chen family to challenge Chen Yang, but they were all rejected by the Chen family with all kinds of reasons. The Chen family not only invited everyone to a banquet, but also avoided challenges from all martial arts geniuses. All the forces were guessing the meaning behind the Chen family's actions. Many big shots believed that this was to allow Chen Yang to shine brilliantly on the day when the various holy lands of martial cultivators came to recruit disciples. On the 7th day. Ding! Congratulations, Master! Martial cultivation to the peak of the second level of the defensive profound realm. After cultivating his Xian Qi, his martial cultivation to reach the peak of the second level of the defensive to the peak of the second level of the defensive profound realm. At this moment, Jiyu opened his eyes and slowly exhaled. The day has finally come. He got off the bed, changed into the steward uniform of the mayor's manor, and walked out. Jiang Yuexin was already waiting for him outside the door. Jiyu, are you really going to come with us? She asked worriedly. That's right. How can I not go and take a look at the Chen family today? Jiyu said with a slight smile. All right, when we reach the Chen family, you must not expose yourself. Otherwise, I won't be able to protect you. Jiang Yuexin reminded him. Jiyu nodded. But what he would do when the time came was still up to him. After that, Jiyu used the alias Shanji to act as Jiang Yuexin's steward and followed the mayor's manor to the Chen family. On the way, he noticed some details. The mayor's manor master, the middle-aged man who was most disappointed in Jiang Yuexin, seemed to be a little distant from Jiang Yuexin. Jiang Yuexin suddenly took in a new steward, but the manor master didn't even ask about it. If it was a normal person, wouldn't he at least show some concern for his daughter? At the same time, he saw that Jiang Yuexin was also in the group. Jiang Yuexin was silently riding a horse behind the manor master, looking a little unnatural. After a while, they arrived at the Chen family manor. Looking at the entrance of the Chen family manor, Jiyu's eyes gradually turned cold. Chen Yang, just you wait. Chapter 54. Blazing flames shrouded the ancient capital of Chaoyang Ancient City. There was a vast mansion in the capital. Chaoyang Ancient City, Chen Family Mansion. A grand banquet was being held in a square in the Chen family mansion. Countless forces from all over the world had gathered, and the entire mansion was bustling with noise and excitement. There was an arena in the center of the square, where some juniors were sparring with each other. At this moment, Jiyu had already arrived at the square with the City Lord's mansion's people. He took a closer look and saw Chen Yang, who was conversing with various forces on the high platform. He came back to his senses after a single glance, because the City Lord's mansion's people were climbing up the high platform. The City Lord's mansion's people sat down somewhere on the high platform. The mansion master and the leaders of the other forces exchanged pleasantries. Jiang Yuexin and Jiang Yuexin also occasionally went over to greet them. Jiyu, on the other hand, sat quietly and did not interact with anyone. Since he was bored, he decided to cultivate his celestial Kai here. However, at this moment, Jiyu suddenly heard a familiar voice. Mansion Master Jiang, how have you been since we last met? Jiyu instinctively opened his eyes and looked in the direction of the voice. He saw Lin Zhanshan walking over. Jiyu closed his eyes and suppressed the resentment rising in his heart. He was still no match for Lin Zhanshan. Moreover, this was the Chen family's territory. He could not be impulsive. Thank you for your concern, Lin family's mansion master. Mansion master Jiang said politely. I heard that Jiang Yuchu was defeated by Chen Yang not long ago. She should have recovered by now, right? Lin Zhanshan said with a fake smile. Of course. As for your son, he seemed to have been taught a lesson by a young man not long ago. Mansion master Jiang did not get angry and asked in return. Jiyu could hear the sarcasm in their words. It seems that your father has a bad relationship with Lin Zhanshan. Jiyu looked at the two of them and said to Jiang Yushin. Jiang Yushin nodded. That's right. My father has been on bad terms with Lin Zhanshan for a long time. My father used to use my sister to mock Lin Zhanshan, but this time, my sister, sure enough, their relationship was not good. Jiyu's eyes flickered slightly. He couldn't help but think that this manor head Jiang might be able to help him. At this moment, not far from the square, there was a group of figures walking side by side. As soon as this group of people appeared, the scene immediately became restless. Their white robes are engraved with the unique mark of the Chenyuan martial house. These people are from the Chenyuan martial house. Chenyuan martial house, it really is the Chenyuan martial house, one of the 3 holy lands of the Kanglan Empire. Jiyu's attention couldn't help but be attracted by the exclamations around her. These people from the Chenyuan martial house were all dressed in white, except for the woman in the lead who was wearing a purple dress. This purple-dressed woman's appearance was extremely perfect, just like a beautiful scenery. Especially those purple eyes, they gave people a mysterious feeling. Suddenly, a system notification sounded in his mind. Ding! Master has discovered the bloodline eye technique purple glazed eyes, triggering 999 times comprehension. Ding! Congratulations, Master, you have successfully comprehended the second half of the purple glazed eyes cultivation manual. Following that, a large amount of knowledge regarding the purple glazed eyes appeared in Jiyu's mind. He was stunned and couldn't react for a moment. He felt that his mind was in a mess. Purple glazed eyes. Bloodline eye technique. What the hell is this? Jiyu pondered for a moment and thought to himself, it's probably the same as when I comprehended the sky splitter technique. This time, I've comprehended a bloodline eye technique cultivation manual. However, this bloodline eye technique cultivation manual seems to only have the second half. I wonder if it'll be useful. He curiously browsed through the contents of the purple glazed eyes in his mind, but because this bloodline eye technique only had the second half, he didn't understand these things. Also, no matter how he looked at it, the system didn't trigger the 999 times comprehension ability to learn this secret manual. It seems that if I want to learn this bloodline eye technique, I'll have to get the first half of the secret manual. I don't know how to get the first half, but I'll just ignore it for now. Jiyu thought to himself and narrowed his eyes at the woman in the purple dress, but this woman, her purple eyes should be the purple glazed eyes. She's definitely not a simple person. Chapter 55. When the Chenyuan martial house arrived, the head of the Chen family, Chen Wuheng, immediately stood up and said politely, "Everyone, please take your seats." The lady in the purple dress nodded slightly and led the Chenyuan martial house members to their seats. Not long after the Chenyuan martial house members sat down, the square was in an uproar again. Look, that's the Kanglan Empire Academy and the Qingxian sect. The other 2 holy grounds are here too. The 3 holy grounds are gathered in the Chen family. This is an unprecedented event. The Chen family is going to rise to the top this time. After all, Chen Yang has awakened the acquired astral body. Those who can awaken the acquired astral body are all peerless talents in the Kanglan Empire. All the sects are going to fight for him. 2 groups of people appeared in the square. On one side were people wearing tulip badges. Tulip was the symbol of the Kanglan Empire Academy. These people were obviously from the Kanglan Empire Academy. On the other side were people wearing green robes. They were from the Qingxian sect. When the Kanglan Empire Academy and the Qingxian sect took their seats, the banquet officially began. The students of the Kanglan Empire, the Qingxian sect, and the Chenyuan martial house. The 3 holy grounds of the Kanglan Empire are all here. There was not a single person present who was not excited. The Kanglan Empire was vast. There were many academies, martial houses, and sects, and these three were the most powerful. The three holy grounds were here for Chen Yang, who had awakened the acquired astral body. The other forces knew that they couldn't win over Chen Yang, so they didn't come. Although the banquet had begun, the entrance exam hadn't started yet. Jiyu was here to meet Chen Yang in the entrance exam. The entrance examination had not started yet, so Jiyu began to cultivate on her own. Jiyu could feel that her cultivation was improving, but she was still far from breaking through to the third level of the defensive mystic realm. After an unknown amount of time, the leaders of the three forces finally arrived at the front of the high platform. One of them said to the crowd, "The time has come. The recruitment test will now begin." Following this voice, the entire place quieted down. Almost everyone had a serious look on their faces. Many of them were young talents from all over the Kanglan Empire. They were all gathered here to participate in the recruitment exam. There wasn't a single genius in the entire Kanglan Empire who wouldn't be moved by the joint recruitment exam held by the three great holy lands of armaments. A bone age below 18, and a martial Dao cultivation at the 8th level of the body tempering stage or above. So long as you satisfy these two conditions, you can participate in the recruitment test. Now, those who meet the requirements and are interested, please come to the stage. The person on the high platform continued. As soon as these words were spoken, the crowd immediately became restless. However, there were also many people who shook their heads regretfully. Only those who were below the age of 18 and possessed a cultivation of the 8th level of the body tempering stage or above had the qualifications to participate in this recruitment test. This condition was not something that everyone could achieve. Those who could achieve it were almost all geniuses. Most of the people present did not even have the qualifications to participate in the test. At the same time, there were young men and women who went to the stage one after another. Each of them had an extraordinary temperament. At this moment, just as Jiyu was about to stand up, he suddenly heard Jiang Yushin beside him ask in a low voice, "Jiyu, are you going to participate in the recruitment test?" "Yes, I am." Jiyu nodded slightly. In reality, he wasn't very interested in this recruitment test. He purely wanted to be able to meet Chen Yang during the recruitment test so that it would be convenient for him to settle accounts. As he spoke, Jiyu stood up and walked towards the three great powers. "Then I'll go with you to try." Jiang Yushin immediately stood up and cheerfully followed behind Jiyu. Jiang Yushin glanced at Jiang Yuchu and said in a cold voice, "Jiang Yuchu, you go with him." Jiang Yuchu was sitting behind Jiang Yushin and nodded after hearing this. "Yes, father." Chapter 56. Soon, Jiyu arrived at the high platform where the three major forces were. Just then, Chen Yang stepped forward from the high platform on the other side. In an instant, almost everyone's eyes fell on Chen Yang at the same time. Although this was the first time they had seen Chen Yang with their own eyes, they already had a very deep impression of Chen Yang, which was his acquired spiritual body. The reason why the acquired spiritual body was special was that it had a better affinity with celestial qi than ordinary physiques. It could easily absorb celestial qi and its cultivation speed was many times faster than ordinary people. Chen Yang looked down at the crowd with an arrogant expression and walked down step by step. Soon after, Chen Yang arrived at the high platform where the three major forces were. Although there were already hundreds of people here, the people from the three major forces were all staring at Chen Yang like torches and did not care about the others. After all, they were mainly here for Chen Yang and the recruitment test was just a formality. In an instant, Chen Yang became the most eye-catching person and all the brilliance gathered on him. Looking at Chen Yang's dazzling appearance, everyone's eyes were filled with worship and respect. Even Ji Yu was looking at Chen Yang. However, there was no reverence or respect in his eyes. There was only a trace of hatred hidden deep in his heart. "Is there anyone else who wants to take the test?" At this moment, the person from the three major forces who had described the requirements for taking the test asked. After a long while, no one else stepped onto the high platform. That person continued, "Then the recruitment test will begin now." Not long after he finished speaking, a huge black stone tablet appeared on the high platform. It looked like a very ordinary stone, but it gave people a mysterious feeling. What is that? Why did they suddenly put out such a huge black stone? They really haven't seen the world. This is not an ordinary stone. This black stone tablet is specially used to test a martial artist's physique. I see. Then it seems that the first round of the test is to test one's physique. Chen Yang has no suspense at all in the first round. Yes, that's an acquired spiritual body. No one here can compare to him. Not many people could recognize this stone tablet because it was extremely rare and precious, and only a few major forces could take it out. First of all, the first round is the physique test. We will test your physique. The person from the 3 major forces said, "You may begin now." When the test began, the first person went up to take the test. This was a young man who was eager to give it a try. He walked up to the black stone tablet and placed his hand on it under the guidance of the people from the 3 major powers. In an instant, the black stone tablet suddenly changed. A faint white light flashed from the black stone tablet. Not only that, but a white halo also slowly rose up and surrounded the black stone tablet. Following that, more and more white halos appeared. In the end, a total of 4 white halos appeared. But after that, the black stone tablet no longer changed. The black stone tablet flickered with white light and was surrounded by 4 white halos. When the people from the 3 major forces saw this, they shook their heads slightly. 4th grade mortal body talent. The person in charge of the assessment said faintly, "You can leave now." The young man, who had been full of anticipation, suddenly felt a sense of loss and walked off the stage dispiritedly. This was only the first round of the test, and he was already eliminated. This is only the first round of the examination. Are the requirements so strict? Actually, it's not that bad. I heard that the requirement to pass this round is to have at least a 5th grade mortal body talent. A 4th grade mortal body is indeed a little lacking. How can a 5th grade mortal body be so simple? This is a talent that only those geniuses have. After all, this is a recruitment test organized by the 3 major forces, so the requirements are naturally not low. Seeing that the first person was eliminated, the crowd below the stage started to discuss. In the mysterious heavenly mainland, everyone had a certain physique. Almost all of them had a mortal body, which was the most ordinary physique. But there was still a difference between them. The mortal body was divided into 9 grades. Basically, the person with the worst physique was a 1st grade mortal body. Even so, it was enough to absorb Shen Qi and cultivate martial arts. In other words, the physique was the talent. A 1st grade mortal body cultivator had the worst talent. The higher the grade, the higher the talent, and the higher the affinity for Shen Qi. A 1st grade mortal body determined that this person had almost no future. It would be very difficult for them to break through to the defensive profound realm in their lifetime, and they could only stay in the body tempering realm. A 2nd grade mortal body was slightly better than a 1st grade mortal body, but it was still difficult for them to achieve great things. Generally, a 2nd grade mortal body talent would be considered good if they could break through to the defensive profound realm before they died. A 3rd grade mortal body and a 4th grade mortal body talent were considered rare, but most of them had a bleak future and could only hover around the defensive profound realm at most. The Academy of the Kanglan Empire, Qingxian Sect, and Chenyuan Martial House were the 3 strongest schools in the Kanglan Empire. They definitely wouldn't accept such a person who didn't have much of a future. A 5th grade mortal body talent and above had a certain chance of reaching the common profound realm. Above the 5th grade, the higher the talent, the higher the chance. The 3 major forces needed this kind of genius. For a peerless genius like Chen Yang who had awakened the acquired spiritual body, there was no doubt that he would become a common profound realm expert. It was just a matter of time. This was also why the 3 major forces were so eager to get Chen Yang. Chapter 57. At the same time, there was a slight change in Ji Yu's expression. He might not be able to pass the first round of the assessment. Although cultivating martial arts was as easy as eating and drinking tea, that was because he had the help of the system. Before he obtained the system, he was really a mediocre person. He barely reached the third level of the body tempering stage after cultivating martial arts for many years. Even though Ji-yu had never tested his talent, he could roughly guess it. His talent was probably at the second grade of the mortal physique at most. It was very likely that he was at the first grade of the mortal physique. If I can't even pass the first round of the assessment, I won't be able to get even with Chen Yang. This is going to be difficult, Ji-yu thought to himself and could not help but sigh softly in his heart. Forget it. I'll just take one step at a time and see how things go. Ji-yu adjusted his emotions and did not let these things affect his state of mind. The second one is me. Although the first person to undergo the test had been eliminated, a second person immediately stepped forward. This young man seemed to be a genius from a certain clan in Chaoyang ancient city. Many people present recognized him. Isn't that Zhong Tong from the Zhong clan? He should be able to pass this round of the assessment, right? Of course, the Zhong clan is one of the three great clans. Zhong Tong's cultivation is ranked third in the Zhong clan, so his talent shouldn't be too bad. I heard that Zhong Tong broke through to the 9th level of the body tempering stage not long ago. I have high hopes for him too. Many people recognized this young man. He was the genius disciple of the Zhong clan, one of the three great clans in Chaoyang ancient city, Zhong Tong. Under the gazes of many people in Chaoyang ancient city, Zhong Tong confidently walked to the black stone tablet and placed his hand on it. In an instant, the black stone tablet flickered with a faint white light. Then, 5 white halos continuously rose and surrounded the black stone tablet. 5th grade mortal physique talent, pass. The person in charge of the assessment said slowly. It was only a 5th grade mortal physique talent, so it did not attract the attention of the people from the three great clans. Seeing this scene, although Zhong Tong had successfully passed this round of examination, he was not very happy. After Zhong Tong left, the young men who participated in the assessment went forward one by one. 3rd grade mortal physique talent, fail. 5th grade mortal body, qualified. 4th grade mortal body talent, disqualified. Not long after, more than half of the people who participated in the assessment had already gone through the talent test. There weren't many people who were able to reach 5th grade mortal physique and above. Among the majority of people, less than 50 people passed while the rest were directly eliminated. Such a frightening elimination rate made many of the remaining candidates who had yet to take the test a little flustered. They had never taken a talent test before, so they had no idea what their talents were. Even some examinees whose cultivations had reached the 9th level of the body tempering stage were like this. Many of them came from wealthy families and had been instilled with various cultivation resources. They didn't have much confidence in the level of their own talent. Soon, it was Jiang Yuexin's turn to take the test. What should I do, Ji-yu? I feel like I might not be able to pass this round. Jiang Yuexin said to Ji-yu in a panic. Ji-yu was speechless. Even he, who had a trash physique, didn't say anything. What was this little girl talking about? It can't be. It's only the first round and so many people have already been eliminated. I think the number of people who can pass this round won't be more than 100. Then how many people will be left? I've heard that the Kanglan Empire Academy, the Qingxian sect, and the Chenyuan Martial House would hold a recruitment test every month in various places in the Kanglan Empire. However, each force only accepts 10 people at most. This time, the three forces are holding a recruitment test together. I estimate that only 30 people will be recruited in the end. While the crowd below the stage was discussing, Jiang Yuexin walked out from the crowd of examinees. Jiang Yuexin was the second young miss of the city lord's estate. Many people below the stage began to discuss when they saw her. That seems to be the second young miss of the city lord's estate. Her name is Jiang Yuexin. Looks like it's her turn. It's said that Jiang Yuexin's cultivation hasn't reached the 9th level of the body tempering stage. I reckon she won't be able to pass the test. I think so too. Zhong Tong, who was at the 9th level of the body tempering stage, barely reached the passing line. Almost no one was optimistic about Jiang Yuexin. In addition, they didn't know much about Jiang Yuexin. They were completely guessing based on their own thoughts. Jiang Yushin naturally heard the voices below the stage. She couldn't help but feel a little gloomy. However, she wasn't discouraged. In a spurt of energy, she walked over and placed her hand on the black stone tablet. 6 white rings of light immediately shone out. 6th grade mortal physique, qualified. Looking at the 6 white rings of light that appeared on the black stone tablet, the people from the 3 forces finally nodded in satisfaction. 6th grade mortal physique. Although it wasn't very high, it was still considered okay. Chapter 58. I really didn't expect Jiang Yushin to actually have a mortal physique 6th grade talent. This is the first mortal physique 6th grade talent to appear so far. Since that's the case, why is she only at the 8th level of the body tempering stage? Could it be that she deliberately concealed her cultivation? This round of assessment is quite interesting. A bunch of 9th level body tempering stage participants were eliminated, but Jiang Yushin, who is only at the 8th level of the body tempering stage, actually passed. Many people were puzzled. Ji helplessly shook his head when he heard these words. This group of people simply didn't know. Jiang Yushin had always been a person who did things her own way. She didn't have the heart to cultivate, so her cultivation was naturally not high. From the beginning, he didn't think that Jiang Yushin would be eliminated. Because even someone like Jiang Yushin could cultivate to the 8th level of the body tempering stage, her cultivation talent definitely wouldn't be that low. Jiang Yushin ran back with a face full of joy. She was a little too excited and accidentally said Jiyu's real name. Fortunately, she reacted in time and hurriedly stopped herself, then changed her words. Shan Ji, did you see that? This lady passed the assessment. With regards to Jiang Yushin's ostentatious appearance, the other participants didn't have the slightest bit of complaints. After all, this little girl's talent was higher than theirs, so they didn't have anything to say. Jiyu, on the other hand, had a false alarm. He was almost tricked by this little girl. If this little girl said his real name, then it would be very troublesome. Seeing Jiang Yushin's cute appearance that wanted to be praised, he once again placed his hand on Jiang Yushin's head. However, this time he used a little more strength and messed up Jiang Yushin's hair. This guy, why did you mess up my hair? Jiang Yushin angrily said. However, she couldn't vent her anger on Jiyu, so she could only stomp her feet. Looking at Jiang Yushin's expression, Jiyu couldn't help but smile. After Jiang Yushin passed the test, it was Jiang Yuechu's turn. Jiang Yuechu was very famous in Chaoyang ancient city. She was much more famous than Jiang Yushin. As soon as she went on stage, she attracted most of the people's attention. The first miss of the city lord's mansion is also here. She will definitely pass this round. In the past, Jiang Yuechu was the #1 martial arts genius in Chaoyang ancient city. Her cultivation had also broken through to the defensive profound realm. Other than Chen Yang, her martial arts talent was definitely the highest. It's a pity that Chen Yang's rise was too sudden. A few days ago, he defeated Jiang Yuechu in just 3 moves. That was really a merciless crushing. Jiang Yuechu's delicate face showed a determined expression. She tried her best not to be affected by external factors so that she could perform at her highest level. She calmly placed her hand on the black stone tablet. In an instant, the black stone tablet flashed with a faint white light like before. Then, white halos slowly rose. 1, 2, 3. At the same time, many people in the venue had high expectations for Jiang Yuechu's talent test results. After all, Jiang Yuechu was the #1 martial arts genius before Chen Yang's rise. Not only was she beautiful, but she was also very strong. She was also the target of all the young talents in Chaoyang ancient city. Even if she was a little down now, she was still not comparable to other geniuses. 4, 5, 6. There were already 6 white halos, but the black stone tablet didn't seem to stop. There was a sign that the 7th white halo would appear. In the end, the 7th white halo appeared as well. 7th grade mortal body talent, qualified. As the person in charge of the test finished speaking, the people from the 3 major factions nodded. They all felt that it was necessary to fight for this girl named Jiang Yuechu. Jiang Yuechu's 7th grade mortal body talent didn't surprise the people in the venue. After Jiang Yuechu stepped back, Ji Yu immediately stepped forward. "Do your best, you definitely won't have a problem," Jiang Yushin shouted from behind. In her opinion, Ji Yu was very strong. If even she could pass the test, Ji Yu definitely wouldn't have a problem. However, Ji Yu had a faint bitter smile on his face. He could almost predict that he was going to be eliminated. When he walked up, it didn't cause any discussion. After all, he had changed his appearance. Apart from Jiang Yuechu and Jiang Yushin, no one recognized him. Walking in front of the black stone tablet, Ji Yu took a deep breath and placed his hand on the black stone tablet. Regardless of whether he passed or not, he planned to treat it as normal. Ji Yu couldn't help but hold his breath, waiting for the black stone tablet to react. However, after a while, the black stone tablet didn't change at all. The people from the 3 major factions all frowned, and there was also a wave of confusion from the audience. What's going on? Why hasn't his talent been tested after so long? That's strange. Didn't the black stone tablet change immediately before? Why is it different when it's this guy's turn? If I remember correctly, even the most useless martial cultivator's talent is at least 1st grade mortal body. What's wrong with this guy? Chapter 59. Everyone was confused. Even Ji Yu himself didn't know what was going on. However, in the next moment, his body started to circulate the Sky Splitter technique. Ding! Master has circulated the King level technique Sky Splitter, King level technique Sky Splitter, obtained experience, 10,000*999x. Just as Ji Yu was puzzled by the technique's circulation, the black stone tablet in front of him suddenly flashed with a white light. Seeing that the black stone tablet finally reacted, Ji Yu stopped thinking about the technique and focused on the black stone tablet. 2 white halos rose one after another, which didn't surprise Ji Yu at all. 3. Seeing the appearance of the 3rd white halo, Ji Yu was slightly surprised. However, it didn't matter. After all, this round required one to have a mortal physique 5th stage talent. However, at this moment, the 4th white halo appeared. This was somewhat out of Ji Yu's expectations. He was already a little surprised when the 3rd white halo appeared. After all, he thought that he was at most a mortal physique 1st or 2nd stage talent. While he was still in a state of shock, a 5th white halo appeared. Then, the 6th one appeared. It didn't even show any signs of stopping. Under Ji Yu's incredulous gaze, the black stone tablet finally stopped at 7 white halos. Seeing this scene, Ji Yu was completely shocked. He was very surprised. When did he have a mortal physique 7th stage talent? At the same time, the people from the 3 factions were also a little surprised. They didn't expect that there would be a mortal physique 7th stage talent in this small Chaoyang ancient city. Who is this guy? He actually has the same mortal physique 7th stage talent as Jiang Yuechu. I don't know. He shouldn't be a genius from our Chaoyang ancient city. I've never seen this person before. I think I saw him and Jiang Yushin know each other. He should be from the City Lord's mansion. Those from other places haven't started the assessment yet. Exclamations came from below the stage. Jiang Yuechu and Jiang Yueshin's beautiful eyes were full of splendor. Although they knew that Ji Yu's martial Dao talent was definitely not bad, they were still a little surprised after witnessing it with their own eyes. Even Chen Yang slightly took a look at Ji Yu. In his eyes, Ji Yu was a stranger he had never met before, which was why he paid a little attention to him. After all, even he did not know when a martial arts genius similar to Jiang Yuechu had appeared in Chaoyang ancient city. He only took a glance at him before he no longer paid any attention to this unfamiliar young man. It was as if this person was not qualified for him to take a second look. At this moment, the woman in the purple dress's eyes, among the people from Chenyuan Martial Mansion, of course, had a hint's eyes. Her beautiful purple eyes flashed as if she had just seen something interesting on Ji Yu's body. You've got to pay attention to this on. The woman in the purple dress slightly opened her red lips, and a voice as pleasant as a nightingale's came out. When the other people from Chenyuan Martial Mansion who were sitting next to her heard the voice of the woman in the purple dress, They suddenly looked as if they had seen a ghost. After a while, Jiyu walked back to Jiang Yushan and Jiang Yushan. Now he somewhat understood what had just happened. He found that the black stone tablet suddenly reacted because the sky splitting in his body was automatically activated. In other words, he guessed that the sky splitting had changed his physique, but it could only be detected when the sky splitting technique was activated. The original useless physique no longer existed. That was why the black stone tablet didn't have any changes before the sky splitting technique was activated. Although it was just his guess, he felt that it should be close to the correct answer. Jiyu couldn't help but feel happy. Not only did the sky-splitting technique solve his useless physique, but it could also improve his physique. For example, if the first stage of the sky-splitting technique broke through to the next stage, impeccable, his physique talent might be improved to the 8th grade mortal physique. Now, except for Chen Yang, all the native candidates in Chaoyang Ancient City had gone through the first round of testing. More than half of the candidates were martial arts geniuses from all over the Kanglan Empire. Next, it was the non-native candidates' turn to take the test. 6th grade mortal physique, qualified. 4th grade mortal physique, not qualified. 7th grade mortal physique, qualified. Most of the spectators were natives of Chaoyang Ancient City. They weren't very interested in the outsiders, except for some of the more powerful geniuses. Most of the martial arts geniuses from all over the Kanglan Empire had passed the first round of testing. Among them, there were several 7th grade mortal physique and 8th grade mortal physique holders. There was even a 9th grade mortal physique genius. Unfortunately, there was also a peerless genius who had awakened the acquired spiritual body. This 9th grade mortal physique genius could only be overshadowed by Chen Yang's brilliance. Chapter 60. Chen Yang was dazzling as soon as he appeared. Everyone's gazes fell on him in unison. Even the people from the three forces were looking at Chen Yang with anticipation. They were looking forward to seeing if Chen Yang had really awakened his acquired spiritual body like the rumors had said. That was why they had specially come to a remote place like Chaoyang Ancient City to hold the recruitment test. They wanted to test the authenticity of the acquired spiritual body. Chen Yang smiled faintly and walked toward the black stone tablet. His smile triggered the cheers of countless young girls who were yearning for love. Young Master Chen is so handsome. I must have a monkey with young Master Chen, you wish. Young Master Chen won't even look at you with that ugly face of yours. You don't agree? You're not much better than me with that airport-shaped face of yours. Only Jiang Yushan had a look of disdain. She looked at the people below the stage in disdain and complained, I really don't know if there's something wrong with the aesthetic standards of these love-struck girls. I can't figure out what's so handsome about Chen Yang. Maybe this is the effect of being strong. Chen Yang is not ugly to begin with, and is also a peerless genius. Naturally, he's different from ordinary people in the eyes of those people. Jiang Yuchu said slowly. Although it makes sense, sister, you don't think that Chen Yang is handsome, do you? Hearing her sister's voice, Jiang Yushan turned around and said, Of course. Although Chen Yang is talented and powerful, I don't like his looks and personality. Jiang Yuchu shook her head. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something. Her beautiful face, which had been as cold as an ice mountain, suddenly curved up slightly. Compared to Chen Yang, I still think that guy's original appearance is more pleasing to the eye. Jiang Yushan was stunned when she heard that. She followed Jiang Yuechu's gaze in disbelief and saw her sister staring at Jiyu. She opened her mouth slightly and stopped talking. No way, no way, no way. At this moment, Jiang Yuexin's heart was in turmoil. Her sister, who had always been as cold and aloof as a winter plum, seemed to be interested in Jiyu. In addition to feeling incredulous, Jiang Yushan also felt an inexplicable sense of crisis. She didn't know why, but she was very worried. It was as if she was worried that her sister would take away the most important thing in her heart. At the same time, Jiang Yuchu turned to look at Jiang Yushan. Her cold eyes flickered as if she had seen through everything. She leaned over to Jiang Yuexin's ear and whispered, You should feel the same, right? A voice suddenly sounded in her ears. Jiang Yuexin's jade-like shoulders trembled slightly as she whispered shyly, "Yes, yes." Her eyes secretly glanced at Jiyu from time to time, as if she was afraid that Jiyu would hear something. However, in fact, Jiyu didn't notice what Jiang Yuchu and Jiang Yushin were doing at all. His attention was all focused on the black stone tablet. At this time, Chen Yang had already walked in front of the black stone tablet and slowly placed his hand on it. Under his proud and confident expression, the black stone tablet suddenly flashed a light that was completely different from before. It was a green light that was much more dazzling than the white light from before. Following that, a green halo slowly rose and surrounded the black stone tablet. First grade spirit body talent, qualified. The person in charge of the assessment trembled slightly as he said this in an excited tone. Hiss, as soon as these words came out, the surroundings became extremely quiet. Many people couldn't help but gasp. The next moment, the whole audience was shocked. First grade spirit body talent. Weren't there some people who questioned Chen Yi's spirit body before? Why don't they come out and say something now? It seems that Chen Yi's awakening of the acquired spirit body is true. Chen Yi is really awesome to have awakened such a powerful physique. I think Chen Yi doesn't even need to continue the assessment. He will be directly recruited by one of the three major forces. Almost everyone under the stage was discussing intensely. Those from the three major forces were also very excited and couldn't wait to start recruiting people. Chen Yang, I am a teacher of the Kanglan Empire Academy. On behalf of the Kanglan Empire Academy, I welcome you to join us. The leader of the Kanglan Empire Academy was a middle-aged man with a unique temperament. His tone was steady and powerful. After the first round of assessment, the Kanglan Empire Academy had already thrown an olive branch to Chen Yang. However, the Qingxian sect was not to be outdone. The leader of the Qingxian sect was a green-robed elder. Our Qingxian sect also welcomes you to join us. The green-robed elder said lightly, if you are willing to join our Qingxian sect, our sect master will personally accept you as a disciple and will favor you with cultivation resources. Hiss, everyone was shocked again. The sect master will personally accept a disciple. Favor him with cultivation resources? These two conditions were simply too generous. Although the Qingxian sect was only ranked second among the 100 cities of the Kanglan Empire, and its overall strength was not as strong as the Kanglan Empire Academy, it was not too far behind. Moreover, Chen Yang would be able to become the sect master's pro-disciple as soon as he entered the Qingxian sect. Coupled with the monstrous talent of the acquired spirit body, he would probably soar into the sky. Chapter 61. Before Chen Yang could reply, the instructor from the Kanglan Empire Academy spoke again. Although I can't promise you the same treatment as the Qingxian sect, the Kanglan Empire Academy is definitely the #1 force. I hope you can consider it. Chen Yang hesitated for a while before bowing slightly to the Qingxian sect elder. I'm sorry, but I've chosen the Kanglan Empire Academy. It's fine, it's your choice. The green-robed elder sighed, but he wasn't particularly surprised. It was as if he had already guessed the outcome. It was because of the difference between the Qingxian sect and the Kanglan Empire Academy that he would offer such a huge olive branch. He just felt that it was a pity that he couldn't properly train this peerless genius. At the same time, the audience was in an uproar. Many people couldn't understand why Chen Yang would choose the Kanglan Empire Academy. Why? Why didn't Chen Yang choose the Qingxian sect? I don't understand either. I really don't know what's going on in Chen Yang's head. Do you really think Chen Yang doesn't know how good the Qingxian sect's treatment is? He's not stupid. He must have thought about it more thoroughly than us. Yeah, let me explain to you why. The Kanglan Empire Academy is the #1 force. Although the Qingxian sect has given him extremely good treatment, he can definitely reach a higher level in the Kanglan Empire Academy than the Qingxian sect. He obviously wants to reach that level with his own strength. Now that you've said it, I understand. It does make sense. Yeah, Chen Yang has awakened his acquired spiritual body. It's not particularly difficult for him to reach that level. The fact that he chose the Kanglan Empire Academy shows that he's not an ordinary person. The surrounding people nodded, thinking that it made sense. Especially the instructor from the Kanglan Empire Academy, he was very satisfied with Chen Yang's answer. Speaking of which, why didn't the Chenyuan martial house say anything? Speaking of which, I didn't hear anything either. Did the Chenyuan martial house just give up? Probably. After all, the Qingxian sect's offer was rejected. The third-ranked Chenyuan martial house has no hope at all. At this time, many people noticed that the people from the Chenyuan martial house didn't say anything. On the Chenyuan martial house's side, the leader of the group, the purple-clad woman, remained calm and collected. It was as if she didn't care that Chen Yang was snatched away by the Kanglan Empire Academy. On the other hand, the Chenyuan martial house members behind the purple-dressed woman looked worried, but no one dared to say anything. It was just like how none of them dared to speak before the purple-dressed woman spoke. Then, the test continued. Next up is the second round of assessment, which tests one's comprehension ability. The person in charge of the test said, "In a while, every single participant will have a low-grade yellow rank profound skill manual in their possession. If you're able to comprehend the basics of the profound skill within 2 hours, then you'll be considered to have passed the test. Otherwise, you'll be eliminated." While he was speaking, every examinee was given a low-grade yellow rank fist technique called Zephyr Fist. At this time, there were still over 100 candidates who had advanced to the second round. They looked at the secret manuals in their hands, and many of them showed a panicked expression. They had to comprehend the Zephyr Fist within 2 hours in order to pass the second round of assessment. The difficulty level of this test was extremely high. Although their physiques and talents were outstanding, their comprehension ability did not have much to do with their talent. It's over, looks like many people will be eliminated this time. 2 hours, that's too short. It's really too short. When I learned the low-grade yellow rank profound skill, it took me at least a few days to learn it. The crowd below the stage sighed. Only Ji looked relaxed. No matter if it was a profound skill or a cultivation technique, no matter how high its grade was, he could learn it with just a glance. This round of assessment was simply a piece of cake for him. Soon, the second round of assessment began. Every examinee began to read the Zephyr Fist manual with all their might. As for Chen Yang, he had already joined the Kanglan Empire Academy, so he didn't need to participate in this round of assessment. At this time, Ji calmly flipped open the Zephyr Fist manual in his hand. As soon as he took a look, the system beeped. Ding! Master has taken a look at the low-grade yellow rank profound skill manual Zephyr Fist, triggering 999 times comprehension ability. Ding! Congratulations, Master. You have successfully comprehended the low-grade yellow rank profound skill Zephyr Fist. With just a glance, Ji had learned the Zephyr Fist. In other words, he only used a breath's time to pass the second round of assessment. Chapter 62. However, Ji was not in a hurry to put down the fierce gale fist in his hands. He thought that since he had already learned it, he might as well learn it to the highest level first. Furthermore, if he let others know that he had already learned the fierce gale fist, it would definitely cause a lot of unnecessary trouble. After all, in this world, there was no one like him who could instantly comprehend a secret manual with just a glance. Towards the end, Ji could not help but use the fierce gale fist. What is that person doing? Seeing someone suddenly move on the stage, many of the spectators were puzzled. Even the people from the 3 major powers were alarmed because they could clearly see that the person was using the fierce gale fist. The person in charge of the assessment hurriedly looked at the time and discovered that only 10 minutes had passed since the start of the second round of assessment. Almost everyone from the 3 major powers was extremely shocked that this youth had only used 10 minutes to learn the fierce gale fist. Not only that, his movements were also very proper and not rusty at all. Chen Yang's face was slightly puzzled as he looked at the people from the 3 major powers. He did not understand why these people's expressions were so exaggerated. Chen Yang had never practiced the fierce gale fist before, so he did not know that someone was using it. That person was Ji. Not long after, Ji had mastered the fierce gale fist to the greater perfection realm. However, this time, The system did not send out an automatic notification to upgrade the mystical skill. It was probably because the fierce gale fist was not a mystical skill or technique that came with the system, so it could not be upgraded automatically. It was also at this time that Jiyu finally realized that he had involuntarily used the fierce gale fist just now. However, it was a good thing that 10 minutes had passed since the start of the assessment, and it was not to the point where he would be in trouble. Looking at the people from the three major powers who looked like they had seen a ghost, he could not help but feel helpless. He did not want to be like this, but he really could not help it. The people from the three major powers all stared at Jiyu with blazing eyes, as if they could not wait to take him in as their disciple. He only spent 10 minutes to learn the low-grade yellow-rank profound skill Zephyr Fist. Although it was not as shocking as the post-celestial spiritual body, it was enough for them to fight over him. At the same time, although the audience had never seen the Zephyr Fist before, some of them felt that something was wrong. I say, that guy on the stage isn't using Zephyr Fist, is he? He seems to be quite powerful. How is that possible? Zephyr Fist isn't some mediocre profound skill. Even though that brat has a 7th grade mortal physique, his perception shouldn't be that high. You can't say for sure. Look at those people from the three major powers, they all look like they've seen a rare treasure. I feel that this young man has probably already comprehended the Zephyr Fist. It's true. From the looks of it, it is indeed possible. Hearing the discussions coming from below the stage, the Chen clan head, Chen Wuheng, frowned slightly. He didn't care much about that young man before, but now he couldn't help but care. He remembered that the young man seemed to have come with the people from the City Lord's mansion. He immediately used his mental energy to send a message to Jiang Manor Head Jiang, who is that young man? Mental energy transmission was a special ability of Tongxian realm experts. It allowed them to communicate without letting anyone else hear them. He is from the City Lord's mansion. Manor Head Jiang replied calmly using his mental energy. In fact, he didn't know where that brat came from. He only remembered that the brat seemed to be by his second daughter, Jiang Yuexin's side. However, Chen Wuheng obviously had ulterior motives, so he naturally wouldn't tell him anything. After hearing Manor Head Jiang's words, Chen Wuheng didn't say anything else. His eyes flickered slightly. No matter how high this brat's perception was, he couldn't compare to Yang Er's post-celestial spiritual body. There was still a long time before the second round of the exam ended. Jiyu naturally didn't stay idle. She sat down and continued to cultivate her profound energy. Continuously gaining 999 times the experience, Jiyu's martial cultivation base slowly stabilized. After an unknown amount of time, the second round of the exam finally ended. After 2 hours, only 36 examinees managed to learn the Zephyr Fist within the allotted time. The rest were eliminated. Jiyu took a few quick glances and discovered that Jiang Yuchu and Jiang Yushin had both passed this round of the exam. The second round of the exam has ended. A total of 35 people passed this round. At this moment, the person in charge of the exam said, because this time, only 30 people will be recruited. The 6 people who took the longest among the 35 of you will need to challenge the other 29 examinees. If they succeed, they will replace the loser's spot. If they fail, they will be eliminated. As soon as this was said, the 6 examinees who took the longest time instantly panicked. If they failed, they would be eliminated. They had already come this far, so they really didn't want to be eliminated. The other 29 examinees were also uneasy, especially the weaker ones. They were all afraid that they would lose their qualifications if they succeeded. After all, although the 6 examinees had poor comprehension abilities, it didn't mean that they were weaker than the other 29 examinees. Only Jiyu didn't care at all. Even if all 6 of them attacked together, they wouldn't be able to hurt her at all. She continued to cultivate her profound energy and waited for these people to finish their challenges. After about 2 hours, the 6 examinees finished their challenges. 4 of them succeeded, while the other 2 failed. All right. The last round is over. The person in charge of the exam said, next, we will rank the examinees. Chen Yang is ranked first, and the remaining 29 examinees will be ranked according to the length of time spent in the second round. The 4 examinees who just succeeded will replace the loser's original spot. Does anyone have any objections? Yes. If there are no objections, then the next round will be. The person in charge of the exam was about to continue when he suddenly froze. His expression was slightly stiff as he looked in a certain direction. He realized that it was the youth who took the first place in the comprehension ability test who objected. Not only that, everyone's eyes fell on Ji-yu. No one would have thought that this young man would suddenly interrupt them. Then what is your objection? Seeing that it was this rather special youth, the person in charge of the exam asked in a gentle tone. If it was an ordinary person, he wouldn't necessarily have such an attitude. What right does he have to be first? Ji-yu pointed at Chen Yang, who was standing on the Kanglan Empire Academy's side, and said coldly. Chapter 63. What is he saying? He seems to be saying that young Master Chen isn't qualified to be number 1. Is this guy crazy? How dare he question young Master Chen? The audience was in an uproar. Jiang Yushin was worried and anxious. She couldn't understand why Ji-yu would suddenly do this. Ji-yu could have joined the 3 major factions and would have been safe then, but Ji-yu just had to pick this moment to clash with Chen Yang. The people from the 3 major factions all frowned, clearly dissatisfied with the young man's questioning. Only the woman in purple had a trace of doubt in her eyes, as if she was wondering why Ji-yu would do this. Chen Yang was slightly surprised, but he quickly recovered and said with a faint smile, "You think this young master isn't qualified to be number 1? What else?" Ji-yu said coldly. "Ha ha ha, this young master remembers that you're called Shan-ji, right? You were just lucky enough to learn a low-grade yellow-rank mystic skill a little faster. Do you really think you can be compared to this young master? Don't you know how much you're worth?" Chen Yang laughed, his tone full of disdain. "Sorry, I'm not some Shan-ji, my name is Ji-yu." Before he finished speaking, Ji-yu tore off the mask on his face, revealing his original face. "I remember him. Isn't he the guy who is wanted by the entire city? It's really him. He actually appeared here, and even changed his appearance. This is interesting. I remember that the Chen clan issued the arrest warrant. It seems that young Master Chen has a lot of grudges with this guy. Because the Chen clan had issued the arrest warrant for the entire city, most of the people present knew who Ji-yu was. Jiang Yushin was even more anxious, but she didn't know what to do. Jiang Manor head glanced at Ji-yu, then looked at Jiang Yueshin's expression. He then recalled some of the things that had happened before and suddenly came to a realization, as if he understood something. Looking at Ji-yu, who had revealed her true appearance, the purple-dressed woman's lips curled up slightly. Things were getting interesting. A look of astonishment finally appeared on Chen Yang's face. Clearly, he did not expect that Ji-yu would actually dare to appear here, and even appear in front of him as the second-ranked person. It took a while for Chen Yang to regain his senses, but his expression was still arrogant. "So what if you're Ji-yu? Although I don't know how you got to where you are now, in my eyes, you are still a complete piece of trash. It's useless to say more. Do you dare to fight me to the death?" Ji-yu ignored the surrounding noises and stared coldly at Chen Yang. A battle to the death. At this moment, everyone present had the same thought in their minds. This brat is really crazy. A duel to the death, as the name suggested, would never end until one side died. This kid dared to have a life-and-death duel with young Master Chen, which was something none of them expected. Young Master Chen had awakened his acquired spiritual body and had easily defeated Jiang Yuchu a few days ago. His current strength must be higher than before. This brat was simply courting death by challenging young Master Chen to a life-and-death duel. At this time, Jiang Yuchu could not bear it anymore and said to Jiang Yushin next to her, "Aren't you going to stop him? Chen Yang's strength is not something he can compete with at all. I know his character very well. Once he decides to do something, no one can persuade him." Jiang Yushin shook her head sadly. She wanted to stop Ji-yu more than Jiang Yuchu, but at this point, it was useless to say anything. She did not expect that Ji-yu would suddenly challenge Chen Yang to a life-and-death duel. Now it was too late to react. But Jiang Yuchu still wanted to say something, but was interrupted by a sudden voice. You want to have a life and death duel with this young master? Chen Yang sneered disdainfully. Fine, then I'll accompany you in a round. Jiyu proposed a life and death duel, which was exactly what he wanted. He could deal with this brat now. In case this brat joined Qingxian sect or Chenyuan martial house, then he would not have a chance. The people from Kanglan Empire Academy did not say anything because they felt that they did not need to worry about Chen Yang at all. Chen Yang, who had awakened his acquired spiritual body, was definitely much stronger than the brat who only had a mortal 7th grade talent. Even the people from Kanglan Empire Academy did not say anything, let alone the people from Qingxian sect and Chenyuan martial house. They just felt a little pity that a genius with some potential was going to die soon. The purple dress woman kept staring at Jiyu, her pair of mysterious purple eyes flashing. Jiyu stepped onto the ring with a calm face. Standing opposite him was Chen Yang. I heard that Lin Chitian was beaten up badly by you, but if your strength is really that little, then it's not that big of a deal. Chen Yang looked at Jiyu with disdain. This young master will give you 3 chances to make the first move, so that you won't say this young master is bullying you. Chapter 64. Young Master Chen is really awesome. He even gave that kid 3 moves first. Anyway, no matter how many moves he gives, that kid is bound to lose. Although that kid defeated Lin Chitian is only at the peak of the 9th level of the body tempering stage. He's still far from young Master Chen. Isn't that so? Chen Yang won in less than 3 moves when he fought with Jiang Yuchu. It'll be a piece of cake for him to deal with that kid. Seeing that Jiyu and Chen Yang were about to start a life and death duel, Jiang Yushin had no choice but to pray and cheer for Jiyu in her heart. Jiyu couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with Chen Yang and quietly waited for the duel to begin. At this moment, the 3 major forces sent out a powerful old man to preside over this life and death duel. The old man lightly jumped into the ring and stood between Jiyu and Chen Yang for a while. Then he began to count down. 3, 2, 1. Let the duel begin. As the old man's voice fell, Jiyu's figure instantly turned into a phantom and appeared in front of Chen Yang in the blink of an eye. Almost no one could see his figure with the naked eye. The moment he arrived in front of Chen Yang, he clenched his right hand and punched towards Chen Yang's face. This time, he didn't hold back at all and used all his strength. He couldn't wait to smash Chen Yang to death with one punch. Even Chen Yang could barely see Jiyu's movements. Fortunately, his reaction wasn't bad, and before he was hit by the punch, his head tilted to the other side. But he couldn't completely avoid Jiyu's punch. His left ear was grazed by Jiyu's punch, as if it was cut by a sharp blade, and there was a burning pain. Not only that, he suddenly felt a ringing in his left ear. Chen Yang couldn't help but use his hand to protect his left ear and hurriedly used his movement technique to retreat quickly, looking a little embarrassed. At this moment, he stared at Jiyu with eyes full of horror. How could this kid be so fast? His strength was also very strange. He felt that if he hadn't dodged that punch, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Chen Yang, who originally had absolute confidence, was shaken by Jiyu's punch. Before this, he didn't even dare to imagine that he would actually be afraid of this kid's fist. Following the scene just now, the audience below the stage also felt that it was strange. I didn't see wrongly, right? What just happened? Young Master Chen is actually at a disadvantage in the hands of that kid. This is impossible, right? I think Chen Yi deliberately went easy on him. Although the kid was ridiculously fast, I didn't see the kid's fist hit Chen Yi. Most of the cultivators present didn't have high cultivations, so they couldn't see Jiyu's movements clearly. Only the people from the 3 major forces and a small number of spectators with higher cultivation bases were able to see the truth of what had just happened. They could all see that because the youth named Jiyu was too fast, Chen Yang's left ear was grazed by the youth's fist. Perhaps he was too shocked, so he temporarily dodged the attack. Not to mention Chen Yang, even the seniors were very surprised. They originally thought that Chen Yang would be able to crush the youth, but they didn't expect that Chen Yang would be at a disadvantage. However, this was only the first exchange of blows, and Chen Yang hadn't even made a move yet, so they couldn't see much. They still felt that Chen Yang had no suspense. Low-class profound class movement technique. Interesting. Really interesting. The woman in purple stared at Ji-yu with her beautiful eyes. The curiosity in her purple eyes grew stronger, as if she was becoming more and more interested in this youth. Because everyone else felt that Chen Yang had no suspense, they didn't pay much attention to the duel. Only the woman in purple saw that Ji-yu was using a profound class movement technique. She was extremely curious about how many secrets this youth had. At the same time, looking at the retreating Chen Yang, Ji-yu smiled faintly and said, "Your strength is only so. Hearing Ji-yu's words, Chen Yang's face immediately darkened. He was about to say something when he realized that Ji-yu's figure had suddenly disappeared again. His eyes widened in shock. It was that strange speed again. Just like before, Ji-yu appeared in front of Chen Yang in an instant. He didn't intend to give Chen Yang too much time to catch his breath. He immediately threw another punch at Chen Yang. This time, not only did Chen Yang focus his attention, he wasn't as hurried as he was the first time. He was also very indignant and used his best fist technique to fight back against Ji-yu. Seeing that Chen Yang wanted to fight back with his fists, Ji-yu couldn't help but smile. This dog was simply overestimating himself. If this dog continued to dodge, he might find it troublesome. If he dared to fight back against him, he would be digging his own grave. The next moment, with a crisp cracking sound, Ji-yu's mountain-shaking fist smashed into Chen Yang like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Chen Yang's entire fist was smashed out of shape. Feeling the intense pain from his fist, Chen Yang couldn't help but let out an uncontrollable groan. If it weren't for his pride supporting him, he would have cried out in pain. His other hand tightly grasped the wrist of his hand that had been smashed out of shape, as if this could slightly relieve the pain. Chen Yang couldn't help but kneel on the ground. His expression became extremely gloomy. His facial features were somewhat distorted from the intense pain, but his eyes were filled with incomparable horror. He couldn't believe that he couldn't beat his opponent even after using all his strength. Not only that, his opponent's strength and speed were so terrifying that he felt terrified. Looking at the scene in the ring, everyone below the ring was completely dumbfounded. They almost couldn't believe their eyes. Everyone was flabbergasted and dumbstruck. Their jaws almost dropped to the ground. Chapter 65. The students from the Kanglan Empire finally realized that the situation was not good. That young man's strength had far exceeded their expectations. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would never have imagined that the young man could defeat Chen Yang, who had awakened his acquired spiritual body. On the other side, Jiang Yushin covered her mouth in surprise. Although she had always known that Ji-yu was very strong, she had never thought that Ji-yu's true strength would be so terrifying. Jiang Yushin was actually fine, but Jiang Yuchu looked like she was doubting her life. Not long ago, she was the #1 martial arts prodigy in Chaoyang Ancient City, but a few days ago, she was defeated by Chen Yang in 3 moves. She had been worried about Ji-yu, but that guy had beaten Chen Yang to the point that he could not even fight back. "We haven't even used the 3rd move, and you're already at your limit." At this moment, Ji-yu looked at Chen Yang with a mocking smile. From the previous exchange, he could roughly sense that Chen Yang's cultivation was at the mid-second level of the defensive profound realm. He had to admit that this bastard's strength had increased very quickly after he awakened his acquired spiritual body. It was no wonder that he could defeat Jiang Yuchu in 3 moves. However, this level of cultivation was not worth mentioning in front of him. Moreover, he had mastered 2 low-level mystic skills, which was not something that this bastard could hope to achieve. "You, hiss." Chen Yang wanted to say something, but he could not because of the unbearable pain. "It's time to end this." The mocking smile on Ji-yu's face disappeared instantly, and was replaced by endless coldness. He gathered a strong mystic chi on his fist again, and was ready to end Chen Yang's life with this punch. "No, no." Chen Yang's eyes were filled with fear, and he kept shaking his head to beg for mercy. He knew that if this punch landed, it was very likely that he would really lose his life. Let him go. At this moment, the instructor from the Kanglan Empire Academy could no longer sit still and stopped him. However, Ji Yu did not seem to hear him at all. He had no intention of stopping, and immediately threw another punch at Chen Yang. Stop! The moment Ji Yu swung her fist, the instructor from the Kanglan Empire Academy smashed the chair he was sitting on with a single palm strike, and rushed towards the ring at a terrifying speed. But at this moment, a purple figure suddenly blocked in front of him. Murongzi Li, get out of my way, the tutor from the Capital Institute bellowed and did not slow down at all. No matter what, he could not allow that youth to kill Chen Yang. The purple-dressed woman called Murongzi Li didn't comply. Her slender jade fingers slightly waved, and a huge light purple barrier suddenly formed around her, blocking the middle-aged instructor's path. The middle-aged instructor had no choice but to slow down. His expression turned gloomy. Don't blame me for being impolite. He pulled out the long sword at his waist in an instant. His wrist moved quickly, and the sword flashed with a faint green light. His aura ferociously pierced toward the purple barrier. At the same time, Ji Yu's mountain-shaking fist landed on Chen Yang. Chen Yang felt as if he had been hit by a huge rock, and his entire body tumbled out of the ring. Seeing this, the middle-aged instructor's expression changed drastically, and he forcibly stopped the long sword in his hand. His figure flashed towards Chen Yang, and just as Chen Yang was about to fall out of the ring, he caught him. The middle-aged instructor checked Chen Yang's condition and heaved a sigh of relief. It was obvious that Chen Yang was not completely dead yet. Seeing this, a trace of regret could not help but flash across Ji Yu's eyes. His punch actually did not kill Chen Yang directly. Kid, did you take my words for granted? At this moment, the middle-aged instructor turned to stare at Ji Yu, his eyes full of malice. This is a battle of life and death. Ji Yu calmly spat out 5 words. Facing an expert from the Kanglan Empire Academy, his face was incomparably cold, without the slightest hint of panic. It was also at this moment that the crowd below the ring finally reacted. Yeah, this is a battle of life and death. Didn't the battle of life and death end when one side dies? Is it really okay for the people from the Kanglan Empire Academy to interfere like this? It can't be helped, sigh. Who asked Chen Yang to awaken his acquired spiritual body, and he has already joined the Kanglan Empire Academy? Of course, the Kanglan Empire Academy doesn't want Chen Yang to be killed by that kid. The crowd below the ring sighed. Most of them were on Ji Yu's side, and felt that the instructor from the Kanglan Empire Academy was being unkind. They were only here to watch the show, and they weren't familiar with Ji Yu or Chen Yang. Whichever side was strong and reasonable, they would lean towards that side. Jiang Yushin was especially angry. Forcefully interrupting a battle of life and death, and even speaking to Ji Yu like that, how shameless. Chen Wuheng's expression became very unsightly. Today was supposed to be his son's day to shine, so how did it develop into this? Lin Zhanshan's expression wasn't much better. He didn't expect Ji Yu, this kid, to not only live well, but also crush Chen Yang. Moreover, the people from the 3 major powers were present, so this kid would definitely join one of them. In the future, if he wanted to take revenge for Qi Tian, it would be very difficult to find an opportunity to do so. Hearing the voices of criticism all around, the people from the Kanglan Empire Academy all had awkward expressions. At this moment, Murongzi Li's red lips suddenly opened. Disrupting a battle of life and death, does your distinguished self want to go back on your word? Following this cold and pleasant voice, the middle-aged instructor gradually realized that he had violated the rules and was in the wrong first. However, he was someone from the Kanglan Empire Academy, so how could he lower his head in front of so many people? My Kanglan Empire Academy will never welcome you. The middle-aged instructor coldly snorted, and after saying this to Ji Yu, he took Chen Yang and left the ring. Hearing this, Ji Yu smiled but didn't say anything. He never thought of joining the Kanglan Empire Academy. He only appeared here for one purpose, and that was to kill Chen Yang. This was a pity. Now that Chen Yang was taken away by this person, he couldn't continue to put Chen Yang to death. Just as Ji Yu was about to leave the ring, he noticed the purple-dressed woman in front of him. He bowed slightly to the purple-dressed woman and thanked her. Many thanks for Senior's help. If this purple-dressed woman didn't appear, that Kanglan Empire instructor would definitely have made a move on him, and the consequences would be unimaginable. I am the master of the Chenyuan martial house. Are you willing to join my house? Chapter 66. As soon as she said that, the entire audience went silent. There were over 10,000 people present, and they were all shocked by the words of the purple-dressed woman. The Chenyuan martial house was ranked third in the entire Kanglan Empire. Together with the Kanglan Empire Academy and the Qingxian sect, they were known as the Three Holy Lands. And the master of the Chenyuan martial house was actually a young and beautiful woman. Even the mentor who took Chen Yang away turned his head to look at Murongzi Li in astonishment, his eyes full of amazement. This woman has actually become the master of the Chenyuan martial house. The middle-aged instructor looked at Murongzi Li with amazement. But he wasn't just shocked because of this. He had just cut off his relationship with that brat, and this woman directly threw an olive branch to him. Obviously, this woman didn't put him in her eyes at all. This was something he didn't expect at all. Even Ji-Yu couldn't help but be stunned. The purple-dressed woman in front of her was actually the master of the Chenyuan martial house. What do you think? Murongzi Li was very interested in Ji-Yu and was looking forward to Ji-Yu's reply. I'm willing. Ji-Yu didn't hesitate and immediately agreed. Right now, he had made too many enemies. From the number one holy land of the Kanglan Empire, the Kanglan Empire Academy, to some lone martial artists in the ancient city of Chaoyang, they were all his enemies. If he didn't have the protection of a powerful force, he would easily lose his life. Not to mention the strength of the Chenyuan martial house, this purple-dressed woman also came forward to help him. He had no reason to refuse. Moreover, he had already passed the entrance exam. If he wanted to join one of the three major forces, the Chenyuan martial house would naturally be the best choice. As for the Qingxian sect, he also excluded it because he didn't know the position of those people in the Qingxian sect. Rashly joining would be very risky. Very good, then you come with me. Murongzi Li's face showed a trace of satisfaction. She walked down the stage with light steps. Ji-Yu slightly nodded and immediately followed her. Then, Ji-Yu followed Murongzi Li to the Chenyuan martial house's location. The person who was originally sitting next to Murongzi Li consciously got up and gave way, hinting Ji-Yu to sit down. Just like this, Ji-Yu sat beside Murongzi Li and became a member of the Chenyuan martial house. Looking at this scene, the audience below the stage began to discuss incessantly. This young man really joined the Chenyuan martial house. But Chen Yang is from the Kanglan Empire Academy. If the Chenyuan martial house did this, they would offend the Kanglan Empire Academy. Wouldn't that be very bad? This young man's strength is so terrifying. Even Chen Yang, who has awakened his acquired spiritual body, was beaten by him. If I were the master of the Chenyuan martial house, I would definitely offend the Kanglan Empire Academy to recruit him. Moreover, the Chenyuan martial house is one of the three holy lands of martial arts. There is no need to fear the Kanglan Empire Academy. That's right. I think the Kanglan Empire Academy is even more upset. The peerless prodigy that they just won over was crushed by someone else in 3 punches. If it wasn't for that instructor interrupting the duel, the peerless prodigy would have been beaten to death by someone else's fists. Ha ha ha, at this moment, the faces of the people from the Kanglan Empire Academy were not looking good. Chen Yang's injuries are very serious. You guys quickly send someone to treat him. The middle-aged instructor sternly ordered the others. Yes. Immediately, someone took the unconscious Chen Yang and left the place. Then, the middle-aged instructor's gaze turned and stared at Ji-Yu, who was not far away. Brat, don't be happy too early. The potential of an acquired spiritual body is something you can't imagine. In his opinion, Chen Yang had just awakened his acquired spiritual body and had yet to display its enormous potential. In addition, that brat's strength was strange. That was why he was defeated so miserably. After a while, Chen Yang would definitely be able to surpass that brat. At this moment, Ji-Yu noticed the middle-aged instructor's gaze. At the same time, he suddenly thought of something and a slight smile appeared on his face. He suddenly stood up and slowly said, "That's right, I almost forgot to mention something." Murongzi Li looked at Ji Yu's sudden action and a trace of doubt flashed through her beautiful eyes. Ji Yu coldly looked at Chen family's patriarch Chen Wuheng with a faint smile and continued, "Does everyone want to know why Chen Yang was able to suddenly awaken his acquired spiritual body? Why could he suddenly awaken his acquired spiritual body?" Ji Yu's words immediately attracted the intense interest of everyone present. Not only that, but even the people from the three major factions were very curious. After all, this was related to the secrets of the acquired spiritual body. Who wouldn't care? Chen Wuheng, who was being stared at by Ji Yu, panicked. How could he not know what Yang Er did? Chen Yang didn't awaken his acquired spiritual body out of thin air. Instead, he used some kind of miraculous spiritual pill to forcefully change his physique. Ji Yu's tone gradually turned cold. However, that miraculous spiritual pill was originally an opportunity that I obtained by chance, but he forcefully took it away. Not only did he destroy my family, but he also wanted to kill me. Chapter 67. Is this true? Chen Yang actually did such a thing? If this is true, then Chen Yang is a despicable person. Damn it, Pui. To think that I used to treat Chen Yang as my idol. How disgusting. Everyone was furious. Jiang Yushin was also furious. She did not expect Ji Yu to be treated so unfairly. She had been wondering why Ji Yu was always targeted by the Chen family and wanted to kill Chen Yang at all costs. So this was the reason. At the same time, she could not help but feel a sense of loss and sadness. Even so, Ji Yu, that bastard, had never mentioned these things to her. He had always suffered silently by himself. At this time, the people from the Kanglan Empire Academy were all dumbfounded. When they came back to their senses, they all whispered to the middle-aged teacher. "Teacher, is it really okay for us to recruit such a despicable person?" "Yes, teacher. Although Chen Yang has awakened his acquired spiritual body, his character is too. Why don't we just give up on him? We can't accept such a despicable person." The middle-aged teacher scolded, "Shut up, all of you. Don't jump to conclusions before we know the truth." Hearing the scolding around him, Chen Wuheng finally could not hold it in anymore. He stood up and retorted to Ji Yu, "You're slandering him. You're saying that I'm slandering him?" Ji Yu smiled calmly and said, "Since you think that I'm slandering that despicable person, why do you look so flustered? Are you hiding something?" Chen Wuheng looked even more guilty in the face of Ji Yu's doubts. He tried his best to control his expression and not give himself away. "Stop pestering me. If you have the guts, show me the evidence. Don't try to ruin my Yang Er's innocence." Chen Wuheng scolded. "I really can't show you the evidence. After all, your son of a bitch is very secretive about his actions." Ji Yu said helplessly, "However, no matter how secretive it is, it can't be completely hidden. If you're interested, you can go and investigate. In fact, most of you already know what the Chen family has been doing to me recently." As soon as this was said, many people present had already reacted. Recently, the Chen family had indeed done a lot of things, and they were all targeting Ji Yu alone. They weren't fools. The Chen family wouldn't think of ways to kill a young man for no reason. Basically, many of the people present had already settled down. Before Chen Wuheng could speak, Ji Yu continued, "Apart from that, the bodyguards who usually follow Chen Yang around are also involved. Do you dare to ask them to step forward, Master Chen?" Hearing Ji Yu's words, Chen Wuheng's heart suddenly trembled. Right at this moment, a clear and pleasant voice suddenly entered his ears. This manner head knows a little about the soul-searching technique. It will come in handy. Murongzi Li, who was sitting next to Ji Yu, suddenly opened her mouth. Soul-searching technique. Chen Wuheng's head suddenly thumped. The soul-searching technique was a powerful secret technique that could invade the soul to search a person's memory. This time, Chen Wuheng didn't dare to ask those people to step forward. Chen Wuheng was very anxious. For a moment, he didn't know what to do. "What, you don't dare?" Ji Yu stared at Chen Wuheng and smiled faintly. Chen Wuheng's expression was extremely ugly. He couldn't say a word. Looking at family head Chen's appearance, I guess he's so guilty that he can't speak. It seems that what that young man named Ji Yu said is true. I really didn't expect that the dignified Chen family would do such a despicable thing. Next, let's see what the Kanglan Empire Academy will do. They definitely wouldn't have thought that Chen Yang, who has awakened his acquired spirit body, is actually a despicable person. At this time, everyone present had a rough idea of what to do. Gradually, more and more people's gazes fell on the Kanglan Empire Academy people. Feeling the gazes from all directions, the Kanglan Empire Academy people didn't say a word. It seemed that they were waiting for the leader of the instructors to speak. Things had already developed to this point. No matter what they said, it was useless. The decision lay with the instructor alone. The middle-aged instructor's expression was very conflicted. He really didn't want to give up on a genius who had awakened his acquired spirit body, but now that tens of thousands of people were looking at him, it was difficult for him to make a choice. After a while, he finally made a decision. In a low voice, he said, regarding Chen Yang, the Kanglan Empire Academy can't directly expel him. After all, the truth is still not clear. As he spoke, his gaze turned to Chen Wuheng and gave him a subtle look. Also, I would like to ask family head Chen to hand over the bodyguards that our young friend Ji Yu mentioned. This will allow the Kanglan Empire Academy to investigate the truth. Chen Wuheng's eyes suddenly lit up. Chen Wuheng understands. Ji Yu frowned. The Kanglan Empire Academy was obviously trying to cover for Chen Yang. Once the bodyguards of the Chen family were handed over to the Kanglan Empire Academy, the beautiful principal wouldn't be able to use the soul-searching technique on them. When that time came, the truth would definitely be completely covered up. But it didn't matter. He had already achieved his goal of exposing this matter, and that was to let everyone see the true colors of that dog, Chen Yang. However, the young friend Ji that the instructor mentioned really made him want to vomit. Not only that, but most of the people present also understood the intentions of the Kanglan Empire Academy. I'm really speechless. The Kanglan Empire Academy still hasn't done anything. They have no sincerity at all. They didn't do it kindly enough. Sigh, what can they do? Chen Yang is a genius who has awakened his acquired spirit body. The Kanglan Empire Academy will definitely do everything they can to protect Chen Yang. Chapter 68. There was still a wave of dissatisfaction below the stage. However, the middle-aged instructor didn't care. Compared to the acquired spirit body, the abuse of a group of ordinary people didn't matter to him. The farce ends here. Let's continue with the business. The middle-aged instructor forcibly ended Chen Yang's matter and said with a calm expression, "The 29 people who passed the entrance exam, you can choose your own sect to join." Then, one by one, the people who passed the exam began to choose the sect they liked. Although the Kanglan Empire Academy wasn't very honest, it was still the number one holy land in the Kanglan Empire. More than half of the examinees still chose the Kanglan Empire Academy. However, there were several examinees who were weaker in talent and strength who were rejected by the Kanglan Empire Academy because the Kanglan Empire Academy always accepted at most 10 people at a time. These rejected examinees could only choose the Qingxian sect or the Chenyuan martial house. The Qingxian sect didn't reject anyone and accepted as many as they wanted. As for the Chenyuan martial house, it was ranked last among the 3 holy lands. Not many people were willing to join the Chenyuan martial house. However, the Chenyuan martial house's behavior was very strange. They didn't accept many people and all of them were rejected by Murongzili. Many people were puzzled when they saw this situation. Could it be that the Chenyuan martial house only wanted to accept Ji Yu alone? Master Murong, why didn't you accept them? At this time, even Ji Yu couldn't help but ask Murongzili. No need. Murongzili slowly said these 3 words. She seemed very domineering. Ji Yu was speechless and smiled awkwardly. He couldn't help but silently ridicule in his heart. The beautiful master in front of him really had a strange temper. Those two sisters should be your friends, right? At this time, Murongzili suddenly asked. That's right. What's wrong? Jiyu was slightly stunned. She immediately realized that the master was referring to Jiang Yuchu and Jiang Yushin, so she nodded. Okay. Murongzili slightly nodded. Then she ordered the others, go invite those two girls to join our Chenyuan martial house. Jiyu, after Jiang Yuchu and Jiang Yushin were invited to join the Chenyuan martial house, Jiang Yushin trotted over at once. However, as soon as she arrived in front of Jiyu, she suddenly didn't know what to say. Find a seat and sit down, Jiyu said with a smile. Yes, Jiang Yushin nodded. Then, she and Jiang Yuchu sat down behind Jiyu. After thinking for a while, Jiang Yushin finally organized her words and said softly to Jiyu, Jiyu, if you encounter this kind of thing again in the future, can you not bear it silently and tell me? Hearing the trace of pleading in Jiang Yueshin's words, Jiyu fell into a short silence. He nodded and pondered for a moment, then said in a somewhat low voice, the thing is that this is between me and that guy Chen Yang. Before the matter is more or less settled, I don't want to involve you. You see, you're like this again. Can't you trust me a little more? Jiang Yueshin's tone was mixed with a trace of anger. She really didn't like Jiyu to take on everything by himself. She was completely like an outsider who couldn't help at all. Just like how Jiyu was seriously injured not long ago. If she didn't happen to bump into him and save Jiyu in time, the consequences would be unimaginable. If you encountered any accident, then what should I do? As Jiang Yushin spoke, a faint mist gradually appeared in her eyes and her voice sounded more and more like crying. But halfway through her words, her voice suddenly stopped. Jiang Yueshin's delicate face flushed red, as if she realized that what she just said wasn't very good. She secretly glanced at Jiyu in front of her and found that Jiyu didn't have any reaction. She immediately breathed a sigh of relief, but inexplicably felt a little disappointed in her heart. Jiang Yuchu saw this scene and shook her head slightly and sighed. My sister is really too much. She could have said it directly, but at the last moment, she shrank back. Jiyu was the only one who didn't notice anything wrong. His expression was still serious as he said, I understand. I will try my best to change in the future. It's good that you understand. Jiang Yueshin's face was still red from embarrassment. She said softly, don't forget after a few days. No matter what happens, you have to discuss it with me. Okay. Jiyu softly responded. Unknowingly, he had gradually regarded Jiang Yushin as one of his own. He wouldn't treat Jiang Yushin as coldly as before. At the same time, although Murongzili didn't speak, she sat beside Jiyu. However, she had been sitting next to Jiyu the whole time. Of course, she had heard the conversation between Jiyu and Jiang Yushin clearly. Chapter 69. At this moment, Murongzili had an interesting expression on her face. A girl who is not honest. And a very slow boy in some aspects. This combination is really interesting. At the back, Jiang Yuchu watched as Jiang Yushin and Jiyu destroyed the good atmosphere. She couldn't help but feel that it was a pity. She felt that she had to think of a way to let these two go one step further. Otherwise, with these two's personalities, they might not have a chance even after 8 to 10 years. No one knew her younger sister better than her. Her younger sister was a very dishonest person who would rather die than lose face. And that Jiyu was clearly good at everything, but in this aspect, she was unusually slow. It really made people feel helpless. Not long after, all the examinees who passed the exam joined the three major powers. The Kanglan Empire Academy accepted 10 people, the Qingxian sect accepted 17, and the Chenyuan martial house only accepted 3 people. These 3 people were Jiyu, Jiang Yuchu, and Jiang Yushin. Just like this, the joint recruitment exam held by the 3 major powers came to an end. Originally, Chen Wuheng wanted to do some things after the exam, but Jiyu's sudden appearance and many other terrible things completely disrupted his plans. In other words, he should have been the biggest winner today, but now he became the biggest loser. After the exam ended, everyone left the Chen mansion. The Kanglan Empire Academy and the Qingxian sect also left. They had already recruited new people, so there was no need to continue staying here. However, those examinees who had already joined the major powers didn't leave with their major powers. Instead, they went back to their own families. Perhaps it was because they wanted to go back to report the good news or make preparations. After all, being able to join the 3 major cultivation holy lands of the Kanglan Empire was a great honor. At this time, the Qianyuan martial house people were also preparing to leave. However, Murongzi Li still had to explain to Ji Yu. Go back and rest or prepare for a while. Within a month, take this token and go to the Qianyuan martial house in King City. Before leaving, Murongzi Li said to Ji Yu, Jiang Yuchu, and Jiang Yushin. As she spoke, 3 bronze tokens suddenly appeared in her hand. She gave the 3 tokens to Ji Yu and the others. Afterwards, Murongzi Li gracefully left. After walking for a short distance, she turned back and glanced at Ji Yu. Her lips curled into a smile. Interesting young man, how many more secrets do you have? After that, Ji Yu followed the people from the City Lord's mansion and left the Chen family. On the way back to the City Lord's mansion, Manor Head Jiang would occasionally pay attention to Ji Yu. This young man's performance today had truly shocked him. Chen Yang, who had awakened his acquired spiritual body, was actually easily crushed by this youth. His strength was extremely strong. In addition to strength, his mentality, willpower, and other aspects also surpassed ordinary people. Manor Head Jiang didn't know when his second daughter had gotten acquainted with such a young monster. Moreover, his second daughter seemed to have a good relationship with this young man. He pondered for a moment. It was indeed time for his second daughter to look for a man. However, he still had many questions to ask this young man. However, now wasn't the time. At the same time, Ji Yu naturally sensed Manor Head Jiang's gaze. However, he didn't pay much attention to it. Instead, he was thinking about his own matters. Now that Chen Yang has been protected by those guys from the Kanglan Empire Academy, I can only find an opportunity to take his dog life in the future. Before that, I can't relax. The acquired spiritual body still has some tricks up its sleeve. Ji Yu thought to himself. Although Chen Yang's acquired spiritual body was definitely not as powerful as his system, if he relaxed and the Kanglan Empire Academy focused on nurturing Chen Yang, who knew what kind of accident would happen? At the very least, he couldn't relax until he took Chen Yang's dog life. Soon, Ji Yu followed the group of people back to the governor's mansion. At this moment, Manor Head Jiang suddenly said to him, My young friend, I have something to tell you. Is it convenient for you to come with me now? Of course it's convenient. Ji Yu nodded. Although he didn't know why Manor Head Jiang was suddenly looking for him, he didn't hear any arrogance in Manor Head Jiang's tone. Therefore, he naturally had to give him some face. Not long after, Ji Yu followed Manor Head Jiang to a luxurious room. Feel free to sit anywhere. Manor Head Jiang said politely to Ji Yu. Hearing this, Ji Yu found a mahogany chair and sat down. Then, he went straight to the point and asked, What is it, Manor Head Jiang? Please tell me. What do you think of Yushin? Manor Head Jiang didn't beat around the bush and directly said what was on his mind. Yushin. Are you talking about Jiang Yushin, Manor Head? Ji Yu was slightly stunned and asked. That's right. She's my second daughter. Manor Head Jiang nodded with a smile. Ji Yu was silent for a while. Although he didn't know why Manor Head Jiang suddenly asked this question, he still answered truthfully, Overall, I have a good impression of her. Other than that, he didn't know how to answer. Then. Chapter 70. Ji Yu couldn't help but be shocked when he heard Manor Head Jiang's words. He didn't expect that Manor Head Jiang would suddenly bring this up. However, just as Ji Yu was about to speak, the door was suddenly pushed open. Father, how could you tell Ji Yu these things without permission? It was Jiang Yushin who had barged in. Her fair, flawless cheeks were flushed red, but her face was filled with anger. It seemed that she had been waiting outside the door to listen in. Ji Yu wanted to say something, but hesitated. He could tell that there was something wrong with Jiang Yushin's tone of voice. Jiang Yushin, How could you be so rude? Manor head Jiang frowned and reprimanded Jiang Yushin. I don't care. I don't want you to make decisions for me without permission. Jiang Yushin was so anxious that her face turned red. She shook her head vigorously. I'm doing this for your own good, and also for the good of the entire City Lord Manor. Manor head Jiang said matter-of-factly. Seeing everything unfold before him, Jiyu thought that the relationship between father and daughter was indeed not good. However, the actual situation was worse than he had originally imagined. From his point of view, it was very obvious that Manor head Jiang had privately discussed the engagement with him without asking for Jiang Yuexin's opinion at all. With Jiang Yuexin's personality, she definitely wouldn't be happy after discovering this. Furthermore, the relationship between father and daughter was already not good to begin with. This only intensified the conflict. This was only Jiyu's conjecture. He wasn't particularly clear about the actual situation. Hearing this, Jiang Yuexin's expression immediately darkened. She gritted her teeth and said, I will make decisions for my own matters. I don't want you to interfere. Before she could finish speaking, she quickly walked over and grabbed Jiyu's hand. Let's go. Jiyu was forcefully dragged away by Jiang Yushin. He didn't resist at all, nor did he say a single word. This was because he felt that it was best not to do anything unnecessary before he figured out the ins and outs of this matter. Jiang Manor head stared blankly as Jiang Yushin took Jiyu away, but he didn't say anything. After Jiang Yushin and Jiyu left, he shook his head slightly and sighed. At this moment, Jiang Yushin had already pulled Jiyu away. Finally, she gradually came to a stop. The anger on her face had subsided quite a bit. She lowered her head and said, I'm sorry for letting you see such a joke. Nothing much, but did something happen between you and Manor head Jiang in the past? Jiyu asked with concern. Jiang Yushin looked hesitant. After a while, she said, that person. He never cared about my feelings or my mother's feelings. Your mother? Jiyu's eyes flashed slightly. This was the first time he heard Jiang Yushin mention her mother. Speaking of which, he had been in the City Lord's manor for so many days, but he had never seen Jiang Yuexin's mother. My mother has been suffering from a strange illness for many years. She lies in bed all year round, and it's hard for her to even take care of herself. Usually, I'm the one who takes care of her. When she mentioned her mother, Jiang Yuexin's expression became very sorrowful. Suddenly, a trace of anger flashed through her eyes. But that man actually never cared about my mother. He even kept saying that it was for the good of all of us. Jiyu suddenly realized that no one knew where Jiang Yushin went every day. It turned out that she was taking care of her mother. However, he didn't say anything. He quietly listened to Jiang Yushin continue speaking. Originally, he wasn't like this a long time ago. Ever since my mother fell ill, he suddenly became like a different person. He became selfish and no matter what he did, he would never care about my feelings. Jiang Yushin said in a low voice, not only that, after my mother fell ill, he gradually neglected us. He completely didn't care about my mother's life or death. Halfway through, Jiyu seemed to have realized something. When Jiang Yushin finished speaking, he asked, what was Manor head Jiang like a long time ago? No matter what, for a person to suddenly have such a huge change in personality, there must be some unknown secret. A long time ago, he was very good to my mother and me. It's completely different from how he is now. Jiang Yushin said, now, he only treats big sister slightly better. However, in terms of martial arts, he is extremely strict with big sister. Then, he's not so strict with you? Jiyu calmed down and thought for a moment before asking. At first, he was, but I didn't listen to him at all. Later on, he slowly stopped caring about me. Chapter 71. So that's how it is. Jiyu once again sank into a brief moment of contemplation. He kept feeling that Manor head Jiang was hiding something, but he couldn't be completely sure. The main thing was that he didn't understand Manor head Jiang's character at all, so he had no clue what Manor head Jiang was hiding. He carefully pondered for a moment, then suddenly realized something. When he summed up all of Manor head Jiang's actions, it was as if, It was as if he desperately wanted to increase his own strength. Not long ago, Ji Yu had also desperately wanted to become stronger because of Chen Yang's matter, so he was very sensitive to this aspect. That was why he kept feeling that Mana Head Jiang was hiding something. It was very likely that he was trying to increase his strength. Mana Head Jiang's strength could be Mana Head Jiang himself, or it could be Jiang Yuchu and Jiang Yushan. It could even be the entire City Lord's mana and all the people he could use. It was precisely because Mana Head Jiang had taken a fancy to his talent and strength that he wanted to privately betroth him to Jiang Yushan. This way, he would become a part of the City Lord's mana and become one of Mana Head Jiang's strengths. The reason why Mana Head Jiang was so strict with Jiang Yuchu in terms of martial arts was so that Jiang Yuchu could become stronger as soon as possible, and thus Mana Head Jiang's strength would also increase. Even Jiang Yushan had been subjected to such harsh requirements. However, Jiang Yushan was completely disobedient, so Mana Head Jiang gave up in the end. At this moment, Ji Yu suddenly recalled that 7 days ago, Jiang Yuchu had been defeated by Chen Yang in 3 moves. Mana Head Jiang's face was filled with disappointment, and the events of that time further confirmed his conjecture. Of course, all of this was still just Ji Yu's conjecture. Before the truth was confirmed, he wouldn't easily come to a conclusion. In that case, he would continue to think based on this conjecture. Since when did Mana Head Jiang become so desperate to increase his strength? According to what Jiang Yushan said, it was after her mother fell ill that he suddenly became like this. When he thought of this, Ji Yu's mind once again formed a new conjecture. The root of all this was very likely to be the illness of Jiang Yuexin's mother. How did your mother get that disease? Ji Yu asked. I'm not too sure about that either. I've asked my mother many times, but she wouldn't talk about it every time. Jiang Yushan shook her head. Ji Yu frowned slightly. This was a little troublesome. He pondered for a moment on how to ask. After thinking it through, he asked, then where did she get sick? Was it in the City Lord's mansion? I'm not sure about that either. I only know that after my mother and father returned from somewhere, she inexplicably contracted that strange illness. I don't even know how to treat it. Jiang Yushan still shook her head. As soon as she finished speaking, she continued, speaking of which, when I went with you to the demonic beast mountain range to collect purple sungrass, it was to see if it could treat my mother's strange illness. However, that stalk of purple sungrass didn't have any effect on my mother's strange illness. Jiang Yuexin's words once again disrupted Ji Yu's train of thought. At that time, where did Mana Head Jiang and his wife return from? There was no way to know. Why did his wife contract a strange illness? There was also no way to know. Why don't you take me to see your mother? Hearing Ji Yu's words, Jiang Yushan was slightly taken aback. She subconsciously asked, why? Can't I? Ji Yu asked in return. If Jiang Yushan was unwilling, it would be useless even if he said his conjecture. Moreover, those were his own conjectures. Jiang Yushan might not necessarily believe him even if he said them out loud, so he might as well not say them first. It's not that you can't, but there should at least be a reason. Suddenly, at this moment, Jiang Yushan looked into Ji Yu's eyes with a vigilant expression. I keep feeling like you're hiding something from me again. Why do you always like to bear everything by yourself? Would it kill you to tell me? I know. Ji Yu sighed slightly. He couldn't help but feel like laughing. He didn't expect this girl to be so sharp. She actually noticed this. I'll tell you. Let's talk as we walk. Ji Yu said. That's right. Then come with me. Jiang Yushan nodded happily. She led Ji Yu to her mother's residence. On the way, Ji Yu told Jiang Yushan about his previous conjectures. After he finished speaking, he added, first, look at what I said from an outsider's point of view. Do you think it makes sense? The reason why he said this was so that Jiang Yuexin's thoughts wouldn't be affected by her hatred towards Mana Head Jiang. Jiang Yushan pondered for a while. Then, she nodded with a complicated expression. Although I really don't want to admit it, what you said does make some sense. Relax a little. I'm not saying this to change your opinion of Mana Head Jiang. Moreover, you were the one who asked me to say these things. Ji Yu said gently as he looked at Jiang Yuexin's complicated expression. Then, he continued, no matter what, I'll go see your mother with my own eyes first. Perhaps I'll be able to figure out the truth of the matter then. I understand. Jiang Yuexin took a deep breath and calmed herself down. When her expression relaxed, she began to quicken her pace. All right, let's continue walking. Ji Yu nodded slightly and also quickened his pace to catch up with her. Not long after, the two of them arrived at a simple and crude hut. It's here. Seeing this hut, Ji Yu couldn't help but reveal a trace of surprise. He didn't expect that the manor head's wife would actually live in a place like this. Chapter 72. Jiang Yuexin could hear the astonishment in Ji Yu's voice and immediately explained, this is an old house from more than 10 years ago. Back then, mother gave birth to elder sister in this house and then gave birth to me here. Ever since she fell ill, she has been staying here. Every time elder sister and I asked her to move to a better place to live, she refused. As she spoke, Jiang Yuexin's expression slowly became warm and her eyes gradually became infatuated as she looked at the small house. Perhaps even if Ji Yu spoke now, she might not be able to hear. Ji Yu quietly looked at the small house and cooperatively did not disturb Jiang Yuexin. After a while, Jiang Yuexin suddenly came back to her senses and felt her eyes become moist. She hurriedly rubbed her eyes and covered it up. Some sand accidentally entered my eyes. I'll be fine soon. Ji Yu had already seen through her, but she did not say it out loud. Very quickly, Jiang Yuexin finished rubbing her eyes. All right, let's go in. Ji Yu followed Jiang Yuexin into the small house. The outside looked extremely simple and crude, but the inside was a warm and quaint little house. There were all kinds of flowers and plants in the house, causing the air to be filled with a refreshing fragrance. Mother's favorite thing is flowers and plants. I'm the one who raised them here, Jiang Yuexin slowly said. Ji Yu slightly nodded as she pondered in her heart. After that, Jiang Yuexin brought Ji Yu to a wooden bed. Lying on the wooden bed was a young woman with a face full of black gas and a haggard appearance. Seeing this young woman, Ji Yu's pupils suddenly shrank. Ding! Master has discovered black demon fatal poison, triggering 999 times comprehension ability. Ding! Congratulations Master, you have successfully comprehended the high-grade profound rank profound skill black demon fatal palm. Ding! Congratulations, Master, for successfully comprehending the pill formula of the superior grade 3 pill, the 7 profound spirit clearing pill. In addition, Ji Yu's mind was flooded with a large amount of knowledge regarding the Black Fiend life-ending palm and the 7 profound spirit clearing pill. The Black Fiend life extinguishing palm was a high-level profound palm technique. If one was struck by the Black Fiend life extinguishing palm, a poisonous gas known as the Black Fiend life extinguishing poison would be left in one's body. This kind of poisonous gas would not kill people quickly. It would remain in the body and continue to torture the poisoned person. The 7 profound spirit clearing pill was the antidote to this poison. Black Fiend life-ending poison. So the manor head's wife was inflicted with this kind of poison. She was actually able to persevere after being tortured for so many years. Ji Yu couldn't help but admire the extraordinary willpower of the mansion mistress. In his knowledge of the Black Fiend life extinguishing palm, it was mentioned that most people who were poisoned by the Black Fiend life extinguishing poison would not be poisoned to death, but they would usually commit suicide in less than a year. Because this kind of poison was constantly tormenting the poisoned person, ordinary people simply couldn't endure it. In comparison, how strong was the mansion mistress in front of him to be able to persevere until now? Ji Yu simply couldn't imagine it. Right at this moment, the woman lying on the bed seemed to sense that someone had entered. She slowly opened her eyes and discovered that it was her daughter. A forced smile appeared on her pale and haggard face. Yuexin. You're here. The woman found it difficult to even speak. Her voice sounded weak and feeble. In the next moment, she suddenly noticed that there was an unfamiliar young man standing beside Jiang Yuexin. She immediately asked, "Who is this?" "He's my friend. His name is Ji Yu. I brought him with me to visit you, mother." Jiang Yushin hurriedly squatted down and held the woman's trembling hands with both of her hands. After hearing Jiang Yueshin's words, the woman seemed to immediately understand something. Her murderous and gloomy eyes revealed a trace of relief. She turned her gaze to the young man standing beside Jiang Yushin and slowly said, "I hope that young master can be more tolerant of Yushin. She's still young and immature. She often throws tantrums." Jiang Yushin understood the meaning behind her mother's words. Her face instantly became extremely bashful as she said in a delicate voice, "Mother, I don't have that kind of relationship with him." Ji Yu, on the other hand, had a calm expression on her face. She focused all of her attention on her own mind and almost didn't hear what the mother and daughter were saying. She said in a serious tone, "I know what kind of poison is in Madam's body." "What kind of poison?" Jiang Yushin blurted out. "Black fiend lethal poison," Ji Yu said in a low voice. Hearing the words black fiend lethal poison from the young man in front of her, the woman's eyes instantly widened. Her pupils moved and her face was filled with shock. "You can actually see through this poison?" The woman's voice was filled with shock. Because she was too agitated, she aggravated the poison in her body, causing her expression to become even more unbearable. "Mother, don't be so agitated." Seeing her mother in such a state, Jiang Yushin immediately panicked. "That's right, I can see that the poison in your body is the black fiend lethal poison because I'm an alchemist." As Ji Yu spoke, she revealed the alchemist badge that was originally concealed on her body. "So young master is an alchemist." The woman's expression gradually eased a little. She slowly closed her eyes and pleaded, "Young master, please forget what happened here today. Please don't tell Yu Chu about this black fiend lethal poison." Hearing this, Ji Yu narrowed her eyes. Did the mansion master's wife mean that she was going to give up? Jiang Yushin naturally understood the meaning behind her words. "Mother, don't give up so quickly. Ji Yu is a very powerful alchemist. Perhaps he can find a way to detoxify the poison." There was a hint of panic and sobbing in her tone. "Yushin, promise mother. Don't create trouble for Ji Gongzi." Chapter 73. She had just seen that the badge on that youth was only a top grade 1 alchemist. Although the other party might have coincidentally understood the black demon deadly poison, but a top grade 1 alchemist would not be able to detoxify it. It was just that she did not want to say these words out loud. However, at this time, Ji Yu suddenly opened his mouth. "No, I really do have a way to detoxify it." The method to detoxify the black demon deadly poison was well remembered in his mind. The entire 7 profound spirit clearing pills pill formula could not be more detailed. "What?" Ji Yu's sudden voice shocked the girl to the point that she could not speak. "Really?" Jiang Yushin was also very excited. Her hands tightly grasped Ji Yu's shoulders as she lowered her head and begged, "Ji Yu, I beg you to save my mother, I beg you. Don't worry, I will do my best." Ji Yu promised. No matter what, he had obtained a top-grade profound level palm technique from Jiang Yueshin's mother. This top-grade profound level palm technique Black Demon Deadly Palm was a very pleasant surprise to him. After all, the highest level profound level skill he had was only a low-grade profound level skill. Even in the entire Chaoyang ancient city, no one had a top-grade profound level skill. A low-grade profound level middle-grade profound level skill was also regarded as a family heirloom. Ordinary people did not have the qualifications to come into contact with it. Although the Black Demon Deadly Palm was very sinister, as long as it could increase his strength, he did not care so much. In addition, there was also a top-grade 3-pill formula for the 7 profound spirit clearing pill. This kind of pill formula was very precious and rare. Many alchemy masters wanted to spend a sky-high price to buy this kind of top-grade 3-pill formula, but it was very difficult to do so. It was basically an existence that one could not ask for, and its value was not much inferior to the Black Demon Deadly Palm. Therefore, after taking benefits from others, he naturally had to help them. This was what it meant to be a kind person. What's more, Jiang Yushin had saved his life before. He had not been able to repay that kindness. "Although I don't know what kind of antidote Ji Gongzi has, I still hope that you can give up as soon as possible." After saying that, the woman's eyes flashed with a hint of hesitation. It seemed that there were still some things that she wanted to say, but she was hesitating whether she should say them or not. After a while, she sighed. "Now that things have come to this, there's no need for me to continue hiding it." The woman looked at Jiang Yushin and said, "I don't know how many times your father has sought alchemists behind your back. No alchemist in the entire Chaoyang ancient city can detoxify this poison, even the president of the Chaoyang branch. How could this be?" Jiang Yushin felt as if she had been struck by lightning, and her face turned pale in an instant. How could she not know that the president of the Chaoyang branch was the most accomplished alchemist in the entire Chaoyang ancient city? If even that alchemist couldn't do anything, then there was really no saving him. It wasn't that she didn't believe in Jiyu, but even if Jiyu's alchemy skills were high, it was impossible for him to be better than the president of the Chaoyang branch. "Don't worry. Although I can't immediately cure the black demon deadly poison in your body, it's not a problem to alleviate the poison first." Looking at the mother and daughter, Jiyu scratched his head and said, "Alleviate the poison?" The woman was puzzled. She had never heard of the black demon deadly poison being able to alleviate the poison. However, at this time, the black demon deadly poison in her body was acting up more and more seriously, and it was so uncomfortable that she couldn't continue speaking. Jiyu nodded and said, "Let's not talk about this. Madam, the poison in your body is very serious now. I'll go refine a pill first." After saying that, he directly walked out of the room. "Jiyu." Seeing Jiyu suddenly walk out of the room, Jiang Yushin shouted. She struggled for a moment, but still decided to follow him out. At this time, the woman on the bed didn't make a sound and quietly closed her eyes. She had already mentally prepared herself. No matter what the final result was, she now looked at it with a calm heart. Only her husband and daughter couldn't let go. They were the only ones she cared about for so many years. At the same time, outside the room, Jiyu quickly walked forward. "Jiyu, wait, where are you going?" Jiang Yushin had already caught up from behind. "I'm going to buy the materials needed to refine the spirit cleansing pill," Jiyu said as he walked. "Unfortunately, with my current level of alchemy, I can't completely eradicate the black demon deadly poison in your mother's body. I can only use the spirit cleansing pill to alleviate the poison in your mother's body." Spirit cleansing pill? Jiang Yushin had never heard of this kind of pill. In the next moment, she suddenly reacted. You're saying that the spirit cleansing pill can alleviate the poison in my mother's body?" At this time, Jiang Yushin didn't care about what kind of pill the spirit cleansing pill was. She urgently wanted to know if this kind of pill could really alleviate the poison. Every time she thought of the pain caused by the black demon deadly poison, her heart felt as if it was being cut by a knife. Chapter 74. Yes. Jiyu nodded and said, "The clear spirit pill can effectively relieve the poison in your mother's body, so it's not difficult to refine it." Previously, when he was trying to understand the 7 profound spirit pill in his mind, he had seen some information regarding the clear spirit pill. The clear spirit pill was a type of medium grade 2 pill. In layman's terms, it was a low-grade version of the 7 profound spirit pill. The clear spirit pill was also effective against the black demon deadly poison, but its effect was much worse than the 7 profound spirit pill. Its effect was far from enough to completely eradicate the black demon deadly poison. At most, it could only temporarily relieve the effects of the black demon deadly poison. However, it was not only to relieve the effects of the poison, but also to gain more time to improve his alchemy skills. Currently, Jiyu was only a medium grade 2 alchemist. It was enough to refine the clear spirit pill, but it was far from enough to refine the 7 profound spirit pill. A while ago, he found out that there was a limit to the 999 times success rate that was triggered by the system. As long as the level of the pill did not exceed his alchemist level, the 999 times success rate would be automatically triggered. Otherwise, it would not be triggered. His alchemist level was only a medium grade 2 alchemist, and the 7 profound spirit pill was only a high grade 3rd grade pill. It would not be able to trigger the 999 times success rate, so it was impossible to successfully refine it. Thus, he had to fight for enough time to raise his alchemy skills to a high-grade third-grade alchemist. Even though it had not been long since the end of the recruitment exam, Jiyu's name had already spread to the ears of more than half of the people in Chaoyang Ancient City. When Jiyu was on his way to the Chaoyang branch to purchase materials, almost everyone recognized him. Not a single one of them did not respect him, and no one dared to come out and find trouble with him. Ding. Master has taken a step, low-grade profound rank profound skill 1000 illusory flash gained experience, 1 by 999 times. Ding. Master has taken a step, low-grade profound rank profound skill 1000 illusory flash gained experience, 1 by 999 times. Ding. Congratulations Master, low-grade profound rank profound skill 1000 illusory flash has successfully broken through to the perfection realm. Not long after, Jiyu arrived at the Chaoyang branch. Along the way, she had also broken through to the perfection realm. He had been to the Chaoyang branch many times, so he knew this place like the back of his hand. He quickly began to purchase materials to avoid wasting time. When the person in charge of the transaction of alchemy materials saw that it was a regular customer, his efficiency was very fast. In a short while, he helped Jiyu gather all the materials needed to refine the clear spirit pill. Looking at these materials, a glimmer of hope lit up in Jiang Yuexin's eyes. She was extremely excited. Thank you. Jiyu nodded politely before placing the materials into her storage ring and leaving. At this moment, he suddenly realized that there was a familiar figure walking towards him not far in front of him. The woman wore a pure and flawless white dress. Her face was cold and beautiful. Yu Shuyun. Jiyu immediately recognized this beautiful woman as Yu Shuyun. Jiyu. Chapter 75. I haven't seen you for a long time. I didn't expect you to be the #1 martial genius in Chaoyang Ancient City. Yu Shuyun walked over and said. Obviously, she already knew about Jiyu's performance in the Chen Manor's entrance examination. She could defeat Chen Yang with only 3 punches. She was definitely the #1 martial genius. Sorry, I have something urgent to do now. Miss you, please leave the matter for another time. Jiyu bowed to Yu Shuyun and then walked past Yu Shuyun. He could guess that Yu Shuyun's sudden appearance definitely meant that she was looking for him for something. However, he didn't have much free time now. He had to rush back to refine the spirit cleansing pill. Yu Shuyun's face suddenly revealed a trace of surprise because Jiyu's reaction surprised her. However, her expression soon returned to normal as she watched Jiyu leave with a young girl. This young girl, Yu Shuyun felt that the young girl behind Jiyu looked familiar. She then remembered that this girl seemed to be the second miss of the City Lord Manor. Many people nearby heard the conversation between Jiyu and Yu Shuyun and started whispering. Damn, as expected of Jiyu. Only he would treat Yu Shuyun like this, right? This is really awesome. In the past, Yu Shuyun rarely took the initiative to look for others. Who knows how many young talents in Chaoyang Ancient City wanted to kneel down and lick her but didn't have the chance. However, Jiyu just said that he had something urgent to do and left. After all, he is the #1 martial genius. Even Chen Yang, who has awakened the acquired spiritual body, was completely defeated by him. His status is not lower than Yu Shuyun. There is no need to curry favor with Yu Shuyun. I don't think it's that simple. Didn't you notice that the second miss of the City Lord Manor has been following Jiyu? Maybe there is some unspeakable secret between the 3 of them. Hey, Yu Shuyun acted as if she didn't hear anything. Her face was still as cold as ice. Yu Shuyun quietly looked at Jiyu's back as she left, a faint light flashing in her cold eyes. At this time, Jiyu was on her way back to the City Lord's mansion. Behind him, Jiang Yushin was a little restless. She looked a little worried. After a while, she finally couldn't help but ask, Jiyu, who was that woman just now? Haven't you seen her before? She is the daughter of the president of the Chaoyang branch. She is also a rare genius in alchemy. Her name is Yu Shuyun. As she spoke, a hint of surprise flashed through Jiyu's eyes. He thought that Jiang Yushin knew Yu Shuyun. After all, Yu Shuyun was quite famous in Chaoyang ancient city. It's Yu Shuyun? I've heard of her name before, but I've never seen her before. Jiang Yushin was a little surprised. That's true. I heard that she rarely appears in front of outsiders. Ji Yu thought about it and found that to be true. He had heard that Yu Shuyun rarely appeared. Most people who had heard of Yu Shuyun's name had never seen Yu Shuyun before. In fact, what Jiang Yushin wanted to know the most wasn't that woman's name. She immediately asked, Yu Shuyun, what's your relationship with that woman? At this time, Jiang Yuxin's tone sounded a little vigilant and uneasy. Relationship? Ji Yu thought for a moment and casually said, it's not a big deal. I don't lose to her. Then why did she suddenly come to find you? Didn't you say that she rarely appears in front of outsiders? Jiang Yushin asked again. This? How am I supposed to ask you? At this moment, Ji Yu only felt a burst of F***ck in his heart. How would he know why Yu Shuyun suddenly came to find him? I don't care. I just want to know why that woman is looking for you, Jiang Yushin said coquettishly and unreasonably. Chapter 76. I really don't know. Ji Yu was quite helpless. Let's not talk about this for now. The most important thing now is to go back and treat your mother's poison. Okay. Hearing the word mother, Jiang Yushin could only listen obediently. However, the more Ji Yu didn't say, the more she cared about that woman named Yu Shuyun. She didn't know why, but when she thought about that woman and Ji Yu might have some kind of relationship, she felt uncomfortable in her heart. Although she wasn't very sure why Jiang Yushin suddenly threw a tantrum, Ji Yu didn't care too much about it. Instead, she quickened her pace and rushed back to the city lord's mansion. Soon, Ji Yu and Jiang Yushin arrived at the city lord's mansion. I'll be refining the spirit cleansing pill outside. See if you want to go in and take care of your mother. When they arrived in front of the small house, Ji Yu said to Jiang Yushin. Okay, I'll go in first. Jiang Yushin nodded and walked into the small house. Then, Ji Yu took out a pill refining furnace and a few sets of ingredients needed to refine the spirit cleansing pill from her storage ring. Ding! Detected that Master has begun refining the medium grade 2 pill spirit cleansing pill. The success rate of refining the pill has increased by 999 times. In the instant that he put the first set of ingredients into the pill refining furnace, the system gave him a success rate of 999 times. After almost 2 hours, all the ingredients in the pill refining furnace were finally melted into liquid pills. At this moment, Ji Yu instantly formed a pill refining hand seal. Ding! Master has successfully refined a medium grade 2 pill spirit cleansing pill. Pill Dao attainment obtained experience points, 300 by 999 times. After refining the first spirit cleansing pill, Ji Yu didn't continue to refine the second one. Instead, she quickly walked into the small house. At this moment, Jiang Yushin was sitting in front of the bed and taking care of her mother. Seeing Ji Yu suddenly walk in from outside, she immediately looked at Ji Yu with an expectant gaze and asked, has the pill been refined? Yes, this is the spirit cleansing pill. Just feed it to her. Ji Yu walked over and handed the clear spirit pill to Jiang Yushin. Jiang Yushin immediately became excited. Her hands trembled as she took the spirit cleansing pill. This small pill was able to alleviate the pain her mother was suffering. How could she not be excited? This is. The woman on the bed looked at the pill in Jiang Yuxin's hand and asked in a weak voice. Jiang Yushin said, Mother, this is a medicinal pill refined by Ji Yu. You won't feel so uncomfortable after eating it. What a silly child. The woman shook her head weakly and smiled. She still felt that there was no cure for the black demon deadly poison in her body. It was a pity that she wasted Ji Gong's energy and time. However, in order not to make her daughter sad, she still slowly ate the spirit cleansing pill. The moment the pill entered her mouth, the woman instantly felt a cool feeling spread from her mouth to her whole body. While she was still feeling wonderful about this cool feeling, she suddenly found that her whole body was no longer as painful as before. The black demon aura in the woman's eyes was about to disappear. It was replaced by shock. Everything happened so quickly and suddenly that she couldn't believe it was real. "Mother, how do you feel now?" Jiang Yushin asked in a very urgent tone. Hearing Jiang Yuexin's voice, the woman finally regained her senses. Until now, her eyes were still filled with disbelief. Her face was a little sluggish as she replied, I really don't feel as uncomfortable as before." "That's great, that's really great." Hearing this, Jiang Yuexin's eyebrows immediately relaxed. Her face was filled with joy. In the next moment, she suddenly stood up and couldn't help but hug Jiyu tightly in front of her. She cried tears of joy. Jiang Yushin buried her face in Jiyu's broad chest and couldn't help but cry. Feeling that petite body slightly trembling, Jiyu couldn't help but soften. He reached out and gently stroked Jiang Yuexin's hair. This time, Jiang Yushin didn't resist like before. Instead, she allowed Jiyu to touch her. Seeing this scene, the woman's face revealed a warm smile. After a while, Jiang Yushin realized that her mother was still watching. Chapter 77. Looking at Jiang Yuexin's expression, Jiyu smiled but didn't say anything. "All right, since Madam's poison has been suppressed, I'll continue to refine pills." After saying that, Jiyu walked out of the small room and prepared to refine the remaining ingredients. He had only refined one spirit cleansing pill before, and the remaining ingredients outside were enough to refine a few more. At this time, the woman still hadn't recovered from the shock just now. She asked curiously, "Yushin, who is this Ji Gongzi?" Her husband had been searching for so many years, and even the Chaoyang branch president couldn't do anything about the black murderous poison, but this young man actually reduced the poison's effect. After that, Jiang Yushin sat by the bed and told her mother everything that had happened between her and Jiyu, from beginning to end. As she listened, the woman's expression gradually became a little ambiguous. As soon as she heard that, she understood that her daughter had already fallen deeply in love with him. "Yushin, you should like that Ji Gongzi, right?" The woman looked at Jiang Yushin with an I know expression. No, Jiang Yushin was shocked. She shyly lowered her head and denied it very softly. "Don't be so shy, there's only us here. Mother won't say anything if you tell her in private." The woman smiled. Millimeter, Jiang Yushin was still very shy. She stuttered, I like him." Although she didn't really understand what kind of feelings she had for Jiyu, she knew that she should like Jiyu. She just didn't know how Jiyu felt about her. "See, it's better to be more honest like this," the woman said with a smile. "If you can be more honest with Ji Gongzi, he'll definitely like you too." "Oh really?" Jiang Yushin asked with a very concerned expression. "Of course it's true." The woman held Jiang Yuexin's hand and said seriously, "You are so cute. He will definitely be charmed by you." Jiang Yushin blushed as she nodded and answered softly. At this moment, her face was filled with a joyful smile. At the same time, he told himself that he would try to muster up his courage next time and be a little more frank. "Mother will cheer you on," the woman encouraged. Speaking of which, Mother, do you really not feel uncomfortable now?" Jiang Yushin was still a little worried. "It's true. Mother's body is very good now, and she's slowly recovering. She should be able to get out of bed in a few days." The woman nodded. Although there was still some poison in her body, she didn't know how many years it had been since she felt so comfortable. "It's all thanks to Jiyu. If it wasn't for him, I really don't know what to do." Even now, Jiang Yushin still felt a lingering fear and couldn't help but hug the woman. "That's why, you should try to be more forthright later and properly thank young Master Ji. How about it?" The woman comforted Jiang Yushin and said gently. "Okay," Jiang Yushin responded in a small voice. Jiyu saved her mother's life this time. She felt that she had to be honest for once. Chapter 78. Ding. It has been detected that Master has begun to refine the medium grade 2 pill, spirit cleansing pill. The success rate has increased by 999 times. At this moment, Ji was refining the second spirit cleansing pill outside the house. Although he had already alleviated the poison in the mansion mistress's body, it could only last for a while. Therefore, he had to refine a few more spirit cleansing pills so that the mansion mistress could last for a while longer. Ding! Master has successfully refined a medium grade 2 pill, spirit cleansing pill. Experience gained in alchemy, 300 by 999 times. Ding! Master has successfully refined a medium grade 2 pill, spirit cleansing pill. Experience gained in alchemy, 300 by 999 times. Ding! Congratulations Master, your alchemy attainment has successfully broken through to a superior grade 2 alchemist. After about 4 hours, 5 spirit cleansing pills appeared in Ji's hands. Not only that, refining these 5 spirit cleansing pills had also allowed him to advance to a superior grade 2 alchemist. He could now begin to refine superior grade 2 pills. At some point, Jiang Yushin had already walked out of the house. She sat by the door and looked at Ji in a daze. Ji turned around and saw Jiang Yushin. He immediately said, "The spirit cleansing pill from before can only last for 10 days at most. I've refined another 5 spirit cleansing pills. You can keep them for yourself or your mother in case of future trouble." As he spoke, Ji walked over and handed the 5 spirit cleansing pills to Jiang Yushin. Hearing Ji's voice, Jiang Yushin came back to her senses and took the 5 spirit cleansing pills from Ji. She seemed to be a little absent-minded. Her face revealed a faint blush, as if she wanted to do something but was too embarrassed to do it. "What's wrong?" Seeing Jiang Yushin holding the spirit cleansing pills but not moving, Ji asked with a puzzled expression. Jiang Yushin struggled for a while before she finally mustered up her courage and made up her mind. She murmured, Thank you." Jiang Yushin's voice was as soft as a mosquito's. However, at Ji's current level of cultivation, his hearing was different from ordinary people's. He could barely hear Jiang Yushin's voice. Ji nodded and smiled. At the same time, he was slightly surprised that this girl actually knew how to thank him. "Then I'll go in first." Jiang Yushin ran into the hut like a frightened rabbit. Her mouth was filled with a joyful smile. Ji followed him in unhurriedly, thinking about something else. "At present, although I have already reached the level of a superior second-grade alchemist, I am still very far away from refining a superior third-grade pill, the 7 profound spirit clearing pill. During this period of time, I will speed up my alchemy attainments." Ji thought to himself as he walked into the hut. The fastest way to improve one's alchemy attainments was to obtain 999 times the experience through refining pills. Inside the hut, the woman on the bed looked at Jiang Yushin, who walked in, and smiled kindly. "Yushin, did you do it?" "Yes, I did." Jiang Yushin nodded happily, but there was still a trace of shyness on her face. "Also, mother, Ji just refined 5 spirit clearing pills. He said that the effect of 1 spirit clearing pill can only last for 10 days. He asked you to keep it as a backup." With that, Jiang Yushin placed the 5 spirit clearing pills in the woman's hand. "I got it." The woman nodded slightly. At this moment, she saw Ji come in and said gratefully, "Ji Gongzi, thank you so much this time." "It's nothing." Ji waved his hand and said modestly. Chapter 79. I really don't know how to repay you. At this moment, the woman suddenly thought of something and turned to Jiang Yushin. "Yushin, go and tell your father about this." At the mention of her father, Jiang Yushin's smile gradually disappeared. She looked a little reluctant. The woman seemed to have seen through Jiang Yushin's thoughts and advised her earnestly, "Be good, Yushin. Your father has his own difficulties." "Difficulties?" Jiang Yushin muttered softly and then shook her head, as if she was still unwilling to meet that man. "Yushin, listen to me. No matter how many bad things your father has done, don't hate him. If you want to hate someone, hate me. It was my mistake back then that caused him to become like this," the woman said in a sorrowful tone. "Mistake back then?" Ji's eyes flashed. The words of the manor head's wife had caught his attention. "Yes. If I hadn't insisted on doing that, I wouldn't have been poisoned by the black demon fatal poison and Jiang Zhongtian wouldn't have become like this. The woman said. Jiang Zhongtian? Are you talking about Manor Head Jiang? Ji Yu asked. That's right. My husband's name is Jiang Zhongtian. The woman nodded. Then, madam, can you tell me in detail what happened back then? Ji Yu was a little curious about what happened back then. It's all in the past. There's no need to mention it again. The woman shook her head. Hearing that the manor head's wife was unwilling to talk about the past, Ji Yu didn't continue to ask. Besides, he was just curious. There was no need to get to the bottom of it. When the time came to refine the 7 profound spirit clearing pill, everything would be settled. Mother, you rest here first. I'll go tell father now. At this moment, Jiang Yushan sighed and said solemnly. With that, she grabbed Ji Yu's hand and left the room. Looking at the backs of the 2 people leaving, the woman smiled with relief. She was dragged away by Jiang Yushan again. Ji Yu asked in confusion, why do you have to drag me along? Can't you go alone? Idiot. Jiang Yushan pouted playfully, then said in a voice as soft as a mosquito's fly, If you're not here. I feel a little uneasy. All right. Hearing this, Ji Yu smiled faintly. Not long after, Jiang Yushan dragged Ji Yu to the door of Manor Head Jiang's room. Jiang Yushan, who was walking in front of Ji Yu, slowly hid behind Ji Yu. She tugged at the corner of Ji Yu's clothes and whispered, Go open the door. Why? As soon as Ji Yu asked this question, he seemed to suddenly understand something. Previously, when she was with the Manor Head's wife, Jiang Yushan actually didn't particularly hate Manor Head Jiang. Instead, it was because after Jiang Yushan found out the truth, she felt a trace of guilt towards Manor Head Jiang. This trace of guilt made Jiang Yushan too embarrassed to continue facing Manor Head Jiang. Jiang Yueshin's current thoughts were more or less the same as what Ji Yu had guessed. Although her father's actions these past few years were very overboard, when she thought about how those actions were all for her mother's sake, she couldn't bring herself to hate him. Not only couldn't she bring herself to hate him, but she also felt a little guilty. Why do you care so much? Just go when I tell you to. Jiang Yushan said unreasonably. Yes, yes, yes. Ji Yu smiled, then stepped forward to open the door. Soon after, he heard Manor Head Jiang's voice. Who is it? Inside the room, Jiang Zhongtian was reviewing some things when he suddenly heard someone open the door. He raised his head and saw that the person who entered was Ji Yu. He immediately changed his tone and asked, Little friend Ji Yu, what is the matter? It's not that I have something to say, but Jiang Yushan is looking for you. Ji Yu said calmly. Jiang Yushan? Jiang Zhongtian tilted his head slightly, only to discover that Jiang Yushan was hiding behind Ji Yu. Ji Yu used his elbow to lightly nudge Jiang Yushan behind him, then said in a low voice, It's fine, just say what you want to say. Hearing Ji Yu's words, Jiang Yushan could only take a small breath, then mustered her courage and walked out from behind Ji Yu. However, her gaze was a little erratic, like a little girl who had done something wrong, not daring to meet her father's gaze. If there's nothing important, then don't disturb me. Seeing that Jiang Yushan still wasn't speaking, Jiang Zhongtian said impatiently, No. Chapter 80. Jiang Zhongtian was slightly taken aback. Jiang Yueshin's behavior today made him feel a little strange. Mother, she can be saved. Jiang Yushan lowered her head and said. Originally, she still felt a trace of guilt towards Jiang Zhongtian, but Jiang Zhongtian's impatient tone just now had agitated her. What did you say? Hearing Jiang Yueshin's words, Jiang Zhongtian was so agitated that he instantly slammed the table and stood up. If you believe me, then go and see mother. After saying this, Jiang Yushan turned and left. Ji Yu lightly clicked his tongue and helplessly shook his head. This manor head Jiang really made people speechless. He didn't plan to stay here any longer, so he also left with Jiang Yushan. Only Jiang Zhongtian was left standing there stiffly, his face full of shock. After a while, he gradually regained his senses. Recalling what Jiang Yushan had just said, he almost crazily rushed out of the door. At this moment, Jiang Yushin didn't return to her mother's small room. Instead, she was wandering around the city lord's estate. Don't you want to go back and take a look? Normally, Manor Head Jiang should be at your mother's place soon. Ji Yu walked beside Jiang Yushin and asked as she walked. No need. Jiang Yushin shook her head. Although she still felt that she hated that man, she could tell from her mother's words that that man always cared about her mother very much. Once that man saw that her mother had recovered a lot, he would definitely show that kind of mushy scene that she didn't like. Thus, she didn't plan to go back. No matter what, the result is still good. When the time comes, I will refine the 7 profound spirit clearing pill and it will be a perfect ending. Ji Yu said. Speaking of which, even the president of the Chaoyang branch couldn't do anything about the black fiend lethal poison. How did you know that the spirit clearing pill could reduce the poison's effects? Jiang Yushin was suddenly concerned about this issue and asked. She had heard from Ji Yu that the spirit cleansing pill was a medium-level second-level pill. The famous president of the Chaoyang branch was a third-level alchemist. How could he not know about the spirit cleansing pill? It couldn't be that he didn't want to help on purpose, right? If it was true, then it was too despicable. Because I am the only one in the entire Chaoyang branch who knows the antidote to the black demon poison. Even the Chaoyang branch leader doesn't know. As for how I know, that's a secret. Ji Yu said with a mysterious smile. The black fiend life-extinguishing poison was caused by the black fiend life-extinguishing palm, and the black fiend life-extinguishing palm was a high-level profound skill that was not something the people of Chaoyang Ancient City could come into contact with. Thus, no one knew how to deal with this poison. It could only be said that the system in his body was too awesome. It could comprehend the corresponding antidote just by looking at the poisoned person. If you don't want to say it, then don't say it. Stingy. Jiang Yushin said with a TSK. Jiang Yushin, that person over there should be your sister, right? At this moment, Ji Yu pointed in a certain direction and suddenly said. Hearing this, Jiang Yushin immediately looked in the direction that Ji Yu pointed and realized that it was indeed her sister. She could see that there was a beautiful girl in a red dress on a martial arts field not far away. She seemed to be practicing a certain sword technique. Jiang Yuxin's footsteps gradually quickened. Previously, when she found out about her sister's experience from Ji Yu's guess, her feelings for her sister were even more special. Sister, aren't you going to rest first? Soon, Jiang Yushin arrived at the martial arts field and shouted at Jiang Yuchu who was practicing her sword technique. Why are you here? Suddenly, when she heard Jiang Yuxin's voice, Jiang Yuchu was slightly surprised. In her impression, her sister didn't like the martial arts field and hadn't been here for a long time. However, in the next moment, Jiang Yuchu's tone suddenly changed. She said coldly, "Didn't I tell you not to call me sister?" Sister, Jiang Yushin opened her mouth slightly and looked like she wanted to say something but stopped. At this moment, Ji Yu suddenly said, Jiang Yuchu, I can roughly guess why you deliberately pretended to be cold to your sister. Suddenly, Jiang Yuchu's pupils contracted slightly. Obviously, Ji Yu was right. However, she still said stubbornly, I didn't deliberately pretend to be cold to her. Chapter 81. If I'm not wrong, you probably don't want your father, Manor Head Jiang, to see how close you and your sister are. That's why you purposely gave Jiang Yushin the cold shoulder. Ji Yu said calmly, you want to pretend that you have nothing to do with Jiang Yushin. That way, you can silently bear everything on your own. Am I right? At this moment, Jiang Yuchu's expression finally changed. She could no longer remain calm. Looking at you like this, it seems that I'm right. Ji Yu said with a smile. He could guess this because he didn't see the slightest bit of disgust in Jiang Yuchu's eyes at all. Furthermore, Jiang Yuchu was still very normal just a moment ago. The next moment, she suddenly became cold and indifferent, giving off a very deliberate feeling. Logically speaking, if Jiang Yuchu really hated her younger sister, she shouldn't have acted like this. Combined with the matter between Manor Head Jiang and his wife, he could more or less guess what was going on. Jiang Yuchu couldn't refute Ji Yu's words. She bit her lower lip with her pearly white teeth and averted her gaze. Older sister, why are you acting the same as this guy? Jiang Yushin immediately put her hands on her hips and pretended to be angry. Jiang Yuxin's current appearance was as if she had become the older sister and was scolding her younger sister. Hey, why are you suddenly dragging me into this? Ji Yu said with a slightly helpless expression. Why do you all like to bear everything on your own? Why don't you tell me? Jiang Yushin sighed and said, but it doesn't matter. Mother's condition is much better now. Father shouldn't be like before either. In reality, she wasn't really angry. It was just that her feelings were a little complicated. What did you say happened to Mother? Jiang Yuchu seemed like she couldn't believe what she had just heard. Her face was full of disbelief. Ji Yu personally refined a kind of pill that suppressed the poison in Mother's body. Mother is now out of danger. Jiang Yushin said. Out of danger? Jiang Yuechu's lips trembled slightly as she said excitedly, I'm going to see my mother. As she spoke, she threw away the sword in her hand without caring about the sword technique she was practicing. It was unknown what kind of powerful movement technique she used, but in a short while, she disappeared from sight. Continue? Or do you want to go back with your sister? At this time, Ji Yu asked Jiang Yushin. Jiang Yushin shook her head slightly. I'm not going back. I want to walk with you. However, she was too embarrassed to say the second half of the sentence. Yes. Ji Yu said casually. He didn't mind at all. He could go to the Chenyuan Martial House any time within a month. He was not in a hurry. These few days, he could relax a little. Ji Yu and Jiang Yushin were strolling leisurely along a shady path. They were talking and laughing, and the atmosphere was very good. At this time, it was already late. The setting sun hung in the air like a jade plate. Jiang Yushin looked at the beautiful scene in front of her and slowly shifted her gaze to Ji Yu's handsome face. She did not know why, but she suddenly felt a stirring in her heart. Ji Yu. I have something to tell you, Jiang Yushin whispered softly. Her jade cheeks were slightly red, and her long eyelashes were trembling slightly. In the light of the setting sun, she looked more attractive and lovely. What? When Ji Yu turned his head to look at Jiang Yushin, suddenly, a cold voice came from not far behind. I finally found you. Hearing that someone was coming, Jiang Yushin was shocked. She was about to say something, but she forcibly swallowed the words she was about to say. Ji Yu also looked back subconsciously and found that Yu Shuyun was coming from behind. You actually found this place? Ji Yu was a little surprised. Why can't I find this place? Yu Shuyun said with a cold face. In Ji Yu's opinion, Yu Shuyun was a real cold beauty. No matter who she faced, she had a feeling that strangers should not approach her. In contrast, Jiang Yuchu was different. Although Jiang Yuchu usually looked cold, it was basically a pretense. In fact, she was a very normal girl. No, I'm just a little surprised. Ji Yu said. When are you free? I have something to ask you. Yu Shuyun asked. Chapter 82. I'm free now. Ji Yu said. Alright, come with me now. With that, Yu Shuyun turned around and was about to leave. But at this time, she suddenly felt a sense of hostility from the girl beside Ji Yu. Yu Shuyun looked coldly at Jiang Yushin and slowly said. If I remember correctly, you should be the second miss of the City Lord's mansion, Jiang Yushin, right? That's me. Jiang Yushin stared sharply at Yu Shuyun, her eyes full of hostility. You're that famous pill Dao genius Yu Shuyun. Why are you looking for Ji Yu? That's not convenient to say directly here. Yu Shuyun frowned slightly. She didn't know why the girl in front of her was so hostile to her. She didn't remember offending anyone from the City Lord's mansion. There are some things that are not convenient to say in front of outsiders. Yu Shuyun said coldly. What do you mean? Do you think I'm an outsider? Jiang Yushin said with dissatisfaction. I don't mean to target you. This matter can't be revealed to anyone other than me and him. Yu Shuyun's expression remained the same. Why don't you wait here first? I'll come find you later. Ji Yu suddenly said to Jiang Yushin. Ji didn't realize the seriousness of the problem at this time. He was just a little confused. Why did Jiang Yushin have a problem with Yu Shuyun as soon as they met? The two of them clearly hadn't seen each other many times before this. Hearing Ji Yu's words, Jiang Yushin was slightly stunned. Then, she slowly lowered her head and was silent for a moment. Then, she quickly walked away without saying a word. After walking for an unknown distance, Jiang Yushin came to a pond and gradually slowed down her pace. She complained to herself, really, why do I care so much about that hateful bastard? That bastard. While complaining, Jiang Yushin suddenly recalled that she was interrupted by Yu Shuyun when she was about to say something. When she thought about how Ji Yu actually spoke up for that woman, she became even angrier. She stomped her feet and said, "Bastard! Bastard! Bastard! Bastard!" On the other side, Ji Yu looked in the direction that Jiang Yushin had left and couldn't help but be a little concerned. He felt that there was something wrong with Jiang Yushin just now, although he didn't know why Jiang Yushin became like that. He planned to quickly deal with this matter and then find Jiang Yushin. There shouldn't be anyone else nearby. Let's just talk here. At this time, Yu Shuyun said, "Do you remember what I told you in private?" "I remember. You said that when I became a second-grade alchemist, you had something very important to ask of me." Ji Yu thought for a moment and said, "That's right." Yu Shuyun said, "Then what level of attainment have you reached in alchemy now?" "I've already broken through." Ji Yu said casually. "Very good." Yu Shuyun nodded in satisfaction. Previously, the other party's alchemy level was very close to that of a second-grade alchemist. Now that the other party said that she had broken through, it must be that she had broken through to the second-grade alchemist level. However, what Yu Shuyun didn't expect was that Ji Yu was far from just breaking through to the second-grade alchemist level. She was already close to the third-grade alchemist level. I hope you listen carefully to what I'm going to say next. Yu Shuyun's tone suddenly became serious. Please go ahead. Ji Yu nodded. You should know that the Alchemist Guild in our Chaoyang branch is only a branch. That's why it's called Chaoyang branch. Yu Shuyun said. Chapter 83. There are many ancient cities in the Kanglan Empire and there's an alchemist guild in each of them. Although they all belong to the same faction, there's still intense competition between them. Yu Shuyun continued. Ji Yu listened quietly without making a sound. Although she did not get to the main point, she knew it was not a small matter when she mentioned all the alchemist guilds in the Kanglan Empire. Among them, the most representative one, and also the one with the most intense competition, is the Alchemy Conference. Yu Shuyun continued, the Alchemy Conference that's held once a year is held by all the Alchemist Guild branches in the Kanglan Empire. Every Alchemist Guild branch will send young alchemists to participate in the Alchemy Conference as representatives. Those who perform well will be able to further their studies at the Alchemist Guild. Ji Yu seemed to have understood something after hearing Yu Shuyun's explanation. So, you're planning to ask me to participate in the Alchemy Conference? Ji Yu asked tentatively. That's right. Yu Shuyun nodded and said, you're very talented in alchemy. If you team up with me in this Alchemy Conference, you'll have a chance to get a good ranking. Why team up? Is there only a duo competition and not a single competition? Ji Yu asked curiously. Yu Shuyun shook her head and said, no. The Alchemy Conference has both a single competition and a duo competition. However, there are too many monstrous geniuses participating in the single competition. The competition is very fierce. In comparison, the duo competition is much easier. I see. When will the Alchemy Conference begin? Ji Yu asked. This year's Alchemy Conference will begin in half a month's time. It'll be held in the Bright Sun Ancient City that's close to our Chaoyang Ancient City. It won't delay your trip to the Chenyuan Martial Mansion. Yu Shuyun said. All right. Here's the question. What's the reward? Ji Yu was very direct. If someone wanted his help, they would talk about the reward unless he was indebted to them. Without enough reward, he would not give them any face even if they were beautiful. You don't have to worry about the reward. Yu Shuyun's expression didn't change at all, as if she had been prepared for this. This is the cyan light seal, a medium-grade alchemy seal. If you agree to participate in the alchemy conference with me, I'll give you this alchemy seal. She took out a secret manual and said, aside from this, if we successfully obtain a ranking in the alchemy conference, all the rewards will be yours. I don't want a single one. Deal. Jiyu took the cyan ray seal manual and immediately agreed. Alchemy hand seals were extremely important to alchemists. In order to become an alchemist, one must first learn an alchemy hand seal. When Jiyu first became a grade 1 alchemist through the system, she already had her own alchemy hand seal. However, that was only the most basic alchemy hand seal, which didn't help him much. In layman's terms, the alchemy hand seal was a type of buff that could enhance the alchemist's abilities. A medium-grade grade 2 alchemy hand seal was extremely terrifying. It was enough for all the alchemists in Chaoyang Ancient City to fight for this cyan ray seal. Although Jiyu could trigger a 999 times success rate when refining pills, the cyan ray seal was still very useful to her. For example, it could increase her refining speed, control of the fire, and other aspects. Then it's a deal. Yu Shuyun said, remember to look for me at the Chaoyang branch in half a month's time. Okay. Jiyu nodded. Oh right, there's one more thing. At this moment, Yu Shuyun seemed to have recalled something. When you were wanted by the Chen family, I happened to be in seclusion, so I couldn't help you at that time. Speaking of this, she didn't understand why she had to explain this to Lin Huang. Then, I'll take my leave first. Without waiting for Jiyu to say anything, Yu Shuyun floated away. After the matter was settled, Jiyu immediately looked in the direction Jiang Yushin had left. After a while, he finally found Jiang Yushin. At this moment, Jiang Yushin was kicking a small stone by the pond. She seemed to be angry. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.